I don't know. I'm trying to be super productive this new year, right? So like,
Right.
that was part of my New Year's resolution. But when you have a day job, and then you're trying to put out 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 videos a day, and then
Yeah,
you're
it
trying
sounds
to go to the
exhausting.
gym and
Yeah.
trying to have a social life. It's just,
No, for sure.
so I'm constantly like recalibrating to see what I can handle.
No, absolutely. I get that. Luckily, yeah, I'm still mostly on TikTok, which I think you kind of abandoned
Yeah.
a while ago.
Yeah. I actually made a video to that effect a week or so ago. Like, hey guys, I'm basically done here.
Yeah.
So if any of you are YouTube scrollers, please find me here. I really don't do anything with Twitch either. As a matter of fact,
Just
it's
YouTube.
it's kind of funny because the reason I got this, or reason I re-upped my subscription to Restream, because I hadn't used it in a year, was I was thinking, okay, well, I stream to Twitch.
Mhm.
I stream when I do stream. I stream to YouTube. I stream to Twitch. I stream to Facebook. I would like to stream to Twitter if the capability ever becomes available for me.
Sure.
And TikTok does allow for what up, AA Ron? Is he one of yours?
No, I don't know who that is.
AA Ron's actually my new best friend. Joke's on
True.
him. I know exactly who he is. He's my best friend.
That's facts.
We
Yeah.
go way back. Hey, Stars 88, one of yours?
Nope. But maybe.
Go way
I don't
back
know.
too. No, that's
Maybe.
not true. Stars actually, Stars told
Listen,
me that
I
they
just
didn't
have
like you.
so many followers.
No, you
It's
don't.
really hard
That's
for
true.
me
On TikTok,
pay
you do.
attention whose are mine and whose are not. So
On TikTok, you
I don't know.
absolutely do. As a matter of fact, everybody, you should follow Staxioms on TikTok.
Yo.
He's nearing 29,000 followers on
Am I?
TikTok. Cultists. Yeah, I checked the other day. Like when I want to get angry, I go back and I'll check just to get fodder. You know what I mean? Like right before I go to the
Sure.
gym, if I need some fuel for aggression, like really want to hit that particular, bench press mark, then I'm like, oh, let's look at Stax's follower count and compare it to mine. And so, yeah. The other thing I thought about that we should probably be doing, because I saw that Hunter Biden went on this, like, apparently she's a former View correspondent and Fox and Friends correspondent named Jedediah Bila. Are you familiar with
Never
her?
heard of her. No.
You do know who Hunter Avalon is, right?
You said Hunter Biden.
I meant Hunter Avalon.
Yeah,
Hunter
I know
Avalon.
Hunter Avalon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he apparently did a thing with her show the other day, and it's apparently really, really good. I got like 5 minutes into it, and I'm thinking, man,
Hunter Avalon and who? Who's the other person? Jedediah
Bila. Hang on 1 second.
If anyone doesn't know who Hunter Avalon is, he's just kind of a debate bro on YouTube, Twitch. Where's his platform? He's in the places that people be. But yeah, I actually respect Hunter Avalon quite a bit. Oh, I think I've seen clips on this thing.
Yeah, it was just brought to my attention last night, and I'm thinking, okay, I've got like a queue of things that I want to like, or I feel like I need to watch, like Straighteraid and Pixie went on Sneako's with Destiny.
Very fun.
Yeah, Destiny, Straighteraid, Pixie went to Sneako's house and did a Rumble stream for like 2.5 or 3 hours. So that's also on my list. And you met both of them in Twitter. In Georgia.
Yeah.
I need to
Straighteraid and
Pixie.
Who was the other person? Oh, Pixie. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I really like. Well, I like those people too. But Hunter Avalon, I have a lot of respect for. He was kind of like a, how would you describe him? Like one of those. Like in 2017 or 2018, he was a lot of those, like, or maybe not that late, maybe like 2016 or so. He was definitely a part of that gamer
anti-SJW thing.
Yeah.
But
then he started doing a lot more research on feminism, and then he was like, oh, wait a minute, I feel like I have a lot of this misplaced. I'm looking at all of these studies and they don't seem to support my how I feel. And he did a complete 180 on his politics, and his audience, like he completely lost like almost all of his audience and had to rebuild his entire brand. And no, I think that shows a lot of
integrity
for sure.
Yeah, so I wasn't familiar with Hunter Biden.
Why do I keep
doing Hunter Avallone? I was not familiar with Hunter Avallone until I guess it was after he, politically transitioned to the left. But then, learning about his history, I think he's actually a monument to like political commentary, like the potential integrity that can be found in political commentary, because it was not in his financial interest at all to do what he did. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was like a TPUSA guest speaker. He was so prominent.
He went on tons. Yeah, he went on tons of those. Like, I mean, he did huge debates and speeches with like Sargon of Akkad, and yeah, no, I know. He was very much, yeah. I think Sargon was one of the big people that he was with. But he was always kind of like the kind of the libertarian amongst those folks, because those are kind of like hardline conservatives. Yeah, kind of a libertarian. And then he sort of like recognized, he sort of started shifting more and more left. He was never like that hard right, but he was definitely part of that crowd.
Yeah, so I do know that he credited, I guess he did a you know how Dave Rubin famously did the Why I Left the Left, and then Hunter Avallone. I did it. I said Hunter Avallone and not Hunter Biden. Thank God.
I'm so proud of you. Good work.
Thank you. I mean, words are hard. The hooked on phonics thing is like, I feel like I'm making a lot of progress.
It's a struggle. Yeah, it's hard when you have to relearn English because you're kind of too stupid to pick it up the first time.
No, 100%. I mean, I'm challenged cognitively in many ways. Like it's like some people are naturally prodigious, like they have a natural gift and affinity towards this sort of thing. But whatever talent I have, which I'm really not claiming any, but to whatever extent I have any, it is the result of consistent hard work.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you, buddy.
No problem.
Yeah. So I watched his Why I Left the Right video, and that was actually, he actually said that Vosh was a major influence.
No, because I watched that debate where he did, he was basically like, feminists have gone too far, and he did a debate with Vosh, and then Vosh started bringing up good points, and he was like, you know what? I'm going to get back to you on this. Like he just sort of like left, and then probably about I don't know, maybe like a month later or so, he was like, hey, I did research and I think Vosh is right on all this. So
I know. I mean, like, holy crap. I can't imagine. That was probably like an unprecedented example, especially if somebody that prominent, like having an epiphany, a public epiphany.
For sure.
Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I get the vibe that a lot of these people on either the political or cultural right, not all of them, but at least a few, don't actually believe the crap they say. And they're
100%. Yeah.
And they're probably, as time goes on, they're probably like, oh, I hate that I'm like so vested in defending this.
I think David Pacman said recently that someone approached him while he was getting big and saying like, hey, if you want to be a conservative, if you want to start like debating, here's the paycheck that's associated with it. You're going to have to change your political views, and here's what you can do. And he said, I'm not going to name any names, but I feel like we can look at some people who took that deal whilst I didn't. And Dave Rubin. No, we all know.
Rave Dubin. Yeah. Stars said Pixie did so well in that Sneeko debate. I haven't seen it yet.
Unfortunately.
I think it's actually uploaded to Destiny's channel. So I know you traffic in Rumble all the time. That's basically where you are, right? It's not even TikTok. You love Rumble. Like you love being among the conservatives and the alt-righters and the fascists, right? That's your space.
Is that what Rumble is? I've heard so many of different like conservative social
Don't play coy. I caught you scrolling on it when we were in Georgia. You were checking all your notifications. You're like, oh my God, I've got so many DMs from my fellow fascies.
You figured it out. It's called Rumble. I'm very familiar with it. Yeah, you can follow my account. Do the little follow Staxioms on Rumble.
Or do you really have a Rumble account? Like I
haven't heard of it until you mentioned it.
Really?
I think so.
Yeah, it's like it's. I mean, I
know Truth Social. I know
Truth Central. That's how he says it. Truth Central. Yeah, it's spelled Truth Social, but the pronunciation is a bit eclectic.
Sure. There's also the one that was like really big into free speech, and then it turned into a Nazi, so it kind of got like a Nazi festing ground, and it kind of.
I feel like that's all of them. I feel like
true.
I feel like that's the inevitable trajectory.
I'm thinking of a name. I forget the name, but it wasn't Rumble. I haven't heard of Rumble. But anyway.
There's Rumble. Then I heard of Cozy, which I guess is Nick Fuentes's
Oh,
platform.
yeah.
There's Truth Social, and then
I feel like it's like Web or something. I don't remember.
Web?
No,
that's what you're surfing, bro.
True.
Spider-Man shoots. But anyway, yeah, while you're scrolling that. So Destiny apparently is going to start streaming on Rumble, I guess, when he's done with Factorio, which is, I mean, it's good because he's, that would be one way to expand his audience and challenge. My mic started to droop. It happens to people after a certain age. You gotta make sure you'll understand when you hit 30. But he's I think it's a good way for audience outreach, and it's a good way for him to dunk on conservatives. Governor Gavin Newsom in California, he's like on Truth Social or Tron Central, and I think Rumble as well. Like he doesn't stream, obviously. That would be awesome though. Dude, if a sitting governor if a sitting governor like Newsom like started streaming, you know what I mean? Like
I mean there's been some precedent for
AOC did it. I think
AOC and Ilhan Omar did it together, right? With Hassan. That was like a big deal. And then also I follow a couple representatives, members of the House of Representative on TikTok, which is kind of cool. Like it's I guess it's different from tweeting. It just feels a little bit more personal when they're like making the video, because then it's not like a staff member. So that's kind of cool.
I think AOC, like I saw one where she was clowning on Republicans over the whole faux gas stove situation. And you can tell it was actually her, holding the camera and doing the TikTok vid, and not, it wasn't like this manufactured staff situation where they had the camera on a tripod and, everything was beautifully lit. You could just tell she'd probably had a glass of wine. It was 9 p.m. and she just started dunking on right wingers over the gas stove shit. So
yeah, true.
But yeah, no. Is this a Dungeons and Dragons stream? Yes.
True.
It's more like sex Dungeons and Dragons. Am I right?
Nice.
Am I right?
Nice. Yeah. No, yeah, I do. Hold on one second, actually.
No, I'm not.
I think I'm actually under the Dungeons and Dragons thing, which is hold on one second. Sorry. Could I? Yeah, sorry. One second. Yeah, I think this is on me, honestly.
He's so dumb. Just icon. He's just icon-y. Eye candy. Again, that Hooked on Phonics thing is really, those Berlitz tapes, they're starting to struggle.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're off camera.
No, I know. No, sorry. I'm just looking at this real quick.
Okay.
Sorry, just one moment. I'll be right back, actually.
Okay. All right. Bye. In the meantime, I'll take over. I'm the reason y'all are really here, all 8 of you. Pete should stream on Rumble. So many conservatives would be triggered. Yes, he is. Here's the thing. I did like Pete during the Democratic primary in 2019, 2020. It was Pete, then Bernie, or probably it went back and forth. Joe Biden was like my 3rd or 4th preference at that point. And it wasn't because aspirationally that I thought Pete was the ideal, right? Like, I do think that it would be in everybody, like, okay, like you take the Medicare for all Bernie approach versus the Medicare for all who want it Pete approach. Ideally, we would have a Medicare for all approach. You would just take private insurance out of the equation literally as much as possible. But because poll after poll after poll indicates that so many people like their private insurance company, I just don't know if it's politically efficacious, if there's the political will to get Medicare for all at this time. So rather than just stay where we are with the ACA, Obamacare, if there was a way to move towards Medicare for all, it seems like logically it would be the Medicare for all who want it option, right? And that would just be a stepping stone towards Medicare for all if, again, the will is there eventually. So to me, it was just more like a pragmatic progressivism there, where it moved more in the progressive direction, much more, but took the political reality into the situation. So I know a lot of progressives hate Pete, especially with his like background in like before he got into politics. I think when he was still in the military, he worked for that he worked for that company. I'm blanking on the name of it. Do you know that company that he was like an analyst for some sort of like Pete Buttigieg, he was like an analyst for a
Pete
company.
Buttigieg?
Yeah.
Yeah. For the he got a lot of flack because he fixed bread prices. Is that the thing that I'm talking about?
I
That
think
you're
so.
talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
I forgot the name of the
Anyway,
company.
the name doesn't matter. But anyway, like, I mean, plenty of things to like legitimately criticize him about. But again, as far as like, I don't know, as far as like striking that balance between, you know, politically pragmatic, but also clearly progressive relative to where we are today.
You worked at McKinsey.
Yes,
Is that what you're talking
McKinsey.
about?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I don't know, I liked him. But the thing I like about him most now is his rhetorical prowess. So one of the things that I just believe in very strongly, it's one of the reasons I like Destiny, I like Vosh, and I like people like Hunter Avallone even, is not because, like, I've moved on from the whole debate bro thing, except on TikTok lives, then it just kind of brings it out of me, as you well know,
Yeah,
Hunter.
true.
But for the most part, I just like very calm back and forth conversations, but I know that there's a market and utility for like just one rhetorical dunk after another on right wingers. And Pete Buttigieg does it better than anybody in President Biden's orbit by far.
I will say that especially during the primaries, I felt like Pete was one of the best rhetorical speakers. Like I when he got in front of a crowd, I think he really had a way to reach out to other people, but also maintain his own values, which is kind of difficult to do sometimes. And I got that, I think, the most from Pete, possibly Bernie as well. One of those two people. I felt like did the best job of that.
Bernie's, yeah. Here's the thing, like people. So I think Pete is a slicker speaker than Bernie. Like he's more rhetorically polished, but Bernie Sanders is incredibly rhetorically effective. Like that's one of the like if you look at his, he's one of the few mainstream politicians who will dare to go like and have Fox News town halls. Like he's one of the few that have the confidence.
That's
to,
what I. That's
yeah.
No, those Fox town halls.
Those Fox town hall news.
Yeah, the Fox News town halls. I'm so good at speaking. I'm so good at making sure we're in the right category when we stream. I'm so good at all of this stuff. No, those were some of the speeches and discussions that I remember the most during those primaries, because they felt so genuine and interactive. And I think Pete really brought that out. And I was very impressed by his ability to speak and reach out to audiences. Obviously not, not everything when it comes to a politician, but it's certainly something.
Yeah, no, I mean, it means a lot, and especially I think in this environment too. There's a reason that people like Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, and all the others, which I'm sure we're going to get into later on,
for sure,
with their fallout. But there's a reason that they're so popular. It's because they've tapped into this market of being, again, rhetorically aggressive, and the facts. Like even though like kind of like how you talked about earlier with Hunter Avallone. When he did his transition from the right to the left, it was because he realized the facts don't care about your feelings mantra didn't really apply to the conservative right. Their entire worldview is predicated on feelings, and if they involve facts at all, they're cherry picked and riddled with omissions. And so anyway, but they've tapped into that market, and they've cornered the market, and for whatever reason, the left is perceived as being the part of the political spectrum that's so much more concerned with feelings and not facts. And some of that I'm sure we play into, but I actually think that most of it is just successful marketing from the right. The right is really good at framing, the left only cares about feelings, even though it's not true. You got Buttigieg and like Bernie Sanders, who's considered the paragon of the American left. He's inundated in factual arguments. He's able to cite facts from all over the place. He's not just saying, "Oh, this would feel better." Oh, like there is that, but it's an emotional appeal that's grounded in facts. The right just is good at spinning it as though it's not.
Sure, I think there's kind of a two-pronged approach here. The first thing is that it definitely feels like when I talk to conservatives and I cite studies or I cite I don't know, research, just basically really anything that I can pull up that are fact based. It almost feels like, oh well, you can just pull anything up. Any fact can come from anywhere. I don't trust those institutions, right? That's a classic one. And it feels weird that you claim to care so much about facts when anytime I bring you one, it's like, okay, wait, hold on. I don't trust this institution though. and then that institution is just like science in general, or like an entire field of study. Like if you want to criticize like one specific think tank, I think that's fine, right?
Right.
You can recognize the biases, but that almost never seems to be what's occurring. It's just like, oh, well, this is a study. I don't trust that. But there's also another approach that I feel like every time I talk to conservatives, or I try to bring them on my side, I never go down the fact-based rabbit hole, because it feels like they're just gonna distance themselves from every fact that I give them. So a lot of it is very emotional and very like, oh, I care about community and I care about our nation, or like something like that, in order to bring them closer.
Really?
I really reject.
So wait, you're saying that when you engage with conservatives, you actually try to rely on emotional appeals and not fact-based arguments?
Yeah, because every time I bring them a fact, they kind of like they like shudder at it, and they're like, whoa, hold on, I didn't realize we were bringing studies to this table, knowing very well that they haven't read a single one in their entire life.
Right.
So I do know that usually when I talked to my partner's father pretty recently, and a lot of the times my partner was starting to like bring like all these studies, and I was like, whoa, you're just gonna confuse him. Like let's bring it down a little bit. Let's just talk about his emotions and sort of where he comes from in the world. And I think that's what conservatives gravitate towards a lot more than they like to think that they do. But I also think that there's nothing wrong with having feelings approached politics either, right? Like, because we should care about, our feelings should be prescribing what we do with this country, right? Because we can use facts to inform how we get there, but where we get there, those should also be feelings approached. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. So like a very good example for me is gun control, right? So here's the problem. There was, it's very funnily named, but it was called the Dickey Amendment. It's a real thing. This isn't a joke. And it was named after a Republican, either senator or congressman, who basically negotiated 20 years ago, 30 years ago, a moratorium on gun violence related research to be conducted by the federal government. Basically, the CDC, the National Institute of Health, they were unable to allocate funding towards researching increasing rates of gun violence in the country, because it was seen as a partisan agenda, right? So even if it was just research, it was not about making policy prescriptions or recommendations. It was just about collecting the data. Mm-hmm. It was seen as too partisan. So in order to grant funding, or in order to get Republicans on board to provide the CDC and NIH for additional funding, and again, this was 20, 30 years ago. This Dickey Amendment put a squash on gun-related violence. So we actually have in this country, relatively speaking, and certainly from the perspective of the federal government, we have an embarrassing absence, relatively speaking, of research on gun violence. And the best that I'm aware of that comes out is from the Rand Institution, which is the most comprehensive, collation of gun-related research and data that I'm aware of. And the thing is, though, if you look at, like, they constantly update and publish new data as it becomes available. But if you look, the evidence towards, I don't want to phrase this because I want to be accurate. There is not overwhelming evidence that additional gun control measures will prevent like mass shootings and things like that. It's not that we know it's useless. It's that the claim that if we pass gun control laws, it will absolutely reduce, rates of mass gun violence and shootings and stuff like that. The evidence is actually not what you think it is. There's not a lot of compelling evidence to support it in the affirmative, but they'll openly concede it's because, we don't know. We need to do more research. But the thing is, some certain enlightened centrists will cite the Rand Institute or the Rand Corporation, whatever it's called, as proof. Like, hey, look, we don't need to worry about gun laws or gun control laws because we have no evidence that they'll work. And my argument is that should not stop us from attempting to pass legislation. Like, you can't, if the predicate to passing legislations, we have to have overwhelming statistical proof that it will affect the outcomes that we're looking for. That's stupid.
Right,
We would never pass any law.
because we don't have any political, we don't have any knowledge of what's going to work before it's going to work. That's not how studies work. You have to pass the law and then see what the results are.
Right, 100%. So to me, that's an appropriate thing to appeal to feelings. It's like, look, yes, let's now. Well, first, you want to hit conservatives with the fact that, well, we might have more information if your side of the aisle didn't do everything in their power to squash the ability of the federal government to get this research in the first place. Number one, so you put us in a bad position to make educated and informed opinions. Number two, the Rand Institute doesn't disprove the efficacy of gun control legislation. It just says that, in some areas there are marginal improvements, like certain measures like background checks or whatnot, or, there's some evidence to indicate that this could reduce violence in certain ways. Other gun control prescriptions, we don't have the evidence that it would, affect things one way or another. But that's just, that does not mean that, Congress or the American legislature doesn't have a compelling interest to try to pass laws.
Yeah.
To tackle a problem. So it's like, Congress has an obligation to try to pass reform and laws that are rational and logical to try to address a problem, even if there's no compelling evidence that it will have that intended effect. Because if it doesn't, you can just abolish it. Right.
Yeah, because we can't have that evidence. We can't know exactly what's going to happen, because we can shut down guns in certain cities or certain counties or things like that. But the idea is that it's so easy to travel across state lines or to travel across city lines that even if you abolish guns in one area, you can very easily move to another one. So basically, we have no evidence or no idea of what exactly would happen if we had a federal mandate on gun control, if that makes sense. Just because it's so easy to travel across state lines, right?
No, I mean, that's I didn't see with this clip, but apparently, on the Sunday morning shows. So today, there was at least one Republican representative who was interviewed. I think it was on CNN, because I think it was Dana Bash who did the interviewing. But I saw a clip on Twitter, or I saw the tweet on Twitter. I didn't actually watch the clip from Aaron Rupar. And the question was, are there any sort of gun control laws that you would support, Congressman? And his response was, apparently, according to the tweet, he cited, rates of gun violence in Chicago. And she pointed out that the vast and overwhelming majority of guns which make their way into Chicago come from outside Chicago. They're not being, so
they're coming from legal sources.
Right. So you have to account for areas. That's the thing. This city has, gun control laws. Why does it still have fairly high rates of gun violence? Well, because there's more to geography than that particular city, right?
Yeah,
and things are infiltrating
100%.
outside in. But yeah, so to me, that's a good feelings based argument where it's like, okay, we still have an obligation to try to pass meaningful corrective legislation, even if we go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, yeah, sorry. And there's nothing factual. I think that people have this weird idea of facts, because the facts are never prescriptive, right? They only describe the environment, but they can't tell us what to do with it. We kind of have to appeal to emotions when it comes to children dying, because there's no facts as to why children dying are bad. That is a fully emotional and societal and communal feeling that we have, saying, hey, I don't want to live in a country where this is possible. I don't want to live in a country where this is okay. And that is an emotional reasoning. And there can be it's not that there aren't no facts. There can be no facts on what on the direction that we want to go in this country. That's always going to be an emotional idea. Now, how to stop that from happening, that can be a fact-based argument. That can be, but any prescriptions that we have, they're going to resonate with our emotions. They're not going to be to delve in these facts.
Sure. So. And the facts should definitely inform the directions that we take. Like if you have more available and more compelling evidence that gun control prescription A is more effective than gun control prescription B, then obviously you should skew your legislation towards A. But the idea that you just don't attempt a thing until you have overwhelming statistical proof that it will yield the results that you want is just stupid. That's never how we've passed laws anywhere at any time. And then I remember like even other people making the claim, that, and this is one you hear all the time about how, well, gun control laws gun violence will still occur even if gun control laws are passed and enforced. And it's like every law that has ever been written by every civilization ever has been broken, but that's not an argument. You would never.
Yeah, you would
take
never say,
that logic
well,
and apply
listen,
it to
people
murder.
are still going to do drugs. People are still
Right.
exactly. People are still going to murder people. People are still going to rape people.
Therefore, all murder laws and homicide laws should be stricken from the books because people still commit homicides despite them.
We should still enforce it, and we should still regulate it, and we should still exactly.
Right. But no, so like I mean, getting it, I guess, all the way back to Buttigieg and stuff like that. I don't even know how we got on the subject of Buttigieg.
You brought it up.
Yeah, but I can't remember how. I'm not saying it's bad.
We said we were talking about how facts don't care about their feelings, and I said we can have feelings. Sometimes feelings can be informative, is what I said. And you use this tangent to go on gun control. And then
we've like fractaled so far out. We're 7 tangents down the rabbit hole. But
True.
Basically, what I was saying was I think we were originally talking about Rumble. We were joking about Rumble because we said that Destiny, Aaron, Pixie went on Sneeko's thing. That was that was streamed on Rumble, and then Destiny uploaded the VOD, I guess, last night to his YouTube channel, and we were talking about like the efficacy of streaming on Rumble because it would be funny to see like a professional Democratic operative like Governor Newsom or Secretary Buttigieg or somebody, or even Senator Sanders, somebody who's got the chops to do it rhetorically and otherwise, to like go into these conservative spaces and either try to persuade or try to dunk, because I think there's a market for both. That's what I like, the fact that I like the idea that somebody will wade into the lion's den and not act like a gazelle, right? They will act like another lion from a different,
for sure.
Yeah, a different den, so to speak, and just go toe to toe. So I'm saying you should do that. I think you should absolutely do that.
Go on Rumble. I already have an account, as you mentioned.
That's true.
I stream every day.
Speaking of
every single day, even the days that I work.
You all should follow Staxioms on Twitch.
On Rumble.
Yeah, but I need your URL for that. I need your handle.
Yeah, we all know it. It's I was gonna say it's fine. I was gonna come up with a joke of me being conservative,
you leave the humor to me, buddy. You leave the humor to me. You're the eye candy,
you're right,
and
you're
like
right. Thank you.
The coherent sentences. Okay, I'm the humor.
Okay, yeah. I feel like that was a slight against my inability to speak sometimes, but that's fine.
No, you were dunking on me earlier because I misspoke. You were clowning on me and insulting my literacy, which I guess, quite frankly, is deserved, but we'll see.
It is.
So what about the debt ceiling, man? I know.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that I will say. say.
Here we go.
One. Okay. Consequences of presidencies take a long time to show, if that makes sense. Like you do one thing in your presidency and it's probably going to take quite a long time for things to actually start breaking or things to actually start working. You see that with, I could point to 1,000 different examples, but if there's any president who increased our debt, if you look at all of the debt that has ever accrued over the history of America, 25% of it belongs to one president in one term. Do you know who that president is?
I do believe it is Donald J. Trump.
It is Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, he added $7.8 trillion to the national
25%.
Debt. After swearing during the 2015 and 2016 election cycle that he would actually not only not add to the debt, he would wipe out all the debt he inherited from President Obama and President Bush and President, whoever.
I know, exactly.
Yeah.
No, of course. And it's so frustrating to see. We all kind of knew this was going to happen, right? That he was going to just disturb things and then it would be placed onto the next president. And then everyone's going to blame that next president. Not to say that Biden hasn't added to the debt, right? Obviously he has. But
about $4 trillion
comparatively,
between 4 and 5.
And how much did Trump do?
7.8.
Yeah. Listen,
here's the thing, though, because I'm going back and forth with. I might even see if I can pull these tweets up because they're hilarious. I go back and forth with conservatives on Twitter So it's funny. I tend to like reserve my aggression towards conservatives in like YouTube comment sections and Twitter, right? Like I tend to be like just nicer in general when it's on stream. It's different when it hits different when you're actually talking to a person and having a civil conversation. But people tend to be.
But when you get to be anonymous,
well, it's not even that because like my profile
hide
picture
behind a screen, sure.
Well, no, not even that either, because unlike you, I show my handsome face on Twitter and stuff like that. You have this like stylized photo of you.
Oh, true, but it's still me.
I think you actually took it from your Pornhub account, if I remember correctly.
I did. Well, no, it was my Rumble account, but that's fine.
Well, no, remember the chain. So you first were a performer in the amateur section on Pornhub, then you transitioned to Rumble. It
wasn't Pornhub. It was XXX Hamster and OnlyFans. Okay, you get it correct. Okay.
I apologize.
No, it's fine. I had an exclusivity deal. Okay. So I made sure that I stood by it.
More like a triple exclusivity deal.
Nice. Nice. Hey, yo.
Hey, but where have we? Okay. Anyway, so yeah, I tend to like reserve. Listen, man, this caffeine is not kicked in yet. So you just got to chill.
No, I can tell it's kicked in. It's kicked in a little too much.
Look.
Oh, I keep going the wrong way.
Oh my gosh.
This is so bad.
It is. It's a very enlarged heart. But anyway, I tend to reserve my aggression towards like comment section and Twitter. And it's fun sparring with conservatives on the debt ceiling because, like we just talked about, you pointed out that Trump added 25% of the nation's debt in 4 years. I think it's actually by far the single biggest contribution by a one-term president in the history of the United States. Perhaps not in terms of raw percentage, but certainly in terms of raw dollars. I'm sure, FDR added more to the debt as a matter of percentage. He may have very well created it, for all intents and purposes.
No, for sure.
But in raw dollars, Trump has added more than any sitting president. And in terms of percentages of modern presidents, he's added more than any modern president. People will appeal, well, what about Obama? Obama added more to the debt than Trump in two terms. After inheriting an economic crisis from the previous guy. So, no, at the rate Trump was spending, he was going to eclipse Obama if he got a second term. But anyway,
the economy that Obama walked into and the economy that Trump walked into, they're not even comparable.
Wildly different. And actually, that's also fun to point out. It's fun to point out that in modern history, since Reagan, Democrats have inherited shitty economies from their Republican predecessors, had to spend 4 to 8 years rebuilding it, then pass it off to the next Republican, and then the Republican
then to tank it again.
Yeah. So that happened with Clinton when he inherited Reagan and George H.W. Bush's economy. And actually, to be fair to George H.W. Bush, he also inherited kind of a bad economy from President Reagan, because I think unemployment was crazy high towards the end of Reagan's presidency.
Really?
And, yeah.
You're telling me that all that shit talking of people on welfare didn't contribute to their problems?
No, I know it's so hard to believe, but apparently like trickle down economics just like didn't work or something like that. But yeah, so it's fun to point that out. But so when you point out the 25% thing, as far as Trump's contributions to the national debt, and then the conservatives have pivoted, at least in conversations I've had with them on Twitter. They're like, oh yeah, well, Biden's added to the debt, and at the rate Biden's going, if Biden continues to spend at his current rate, he'll match or exceed Trump at the end of 4 years. And I'm like, that may be true. That may, we don't know, maybe.
Right.
But even if so, we don't care, because it's your argument, conservatives, that adding to the debt is inherently bad and we need to be fiscally responsible. That's not our argument. We just use it against you because it's fun, because you're hypocrites and losers.
Because every single time that a Republican president gets into power, they always add to the debt, even though they've campaigned against that very idea.
Right.
Every single time.
Right.
I don't think there's any Republican president who's broken that cycle.
No, not at all. The last time that we had a surplus was under President Clinton. Democrat, right? So that's the thing. Like, even if I grant you all your premises, let's say that Biden, outspends Trump. Who cares? Like, we're not shackled to that standard. It's your standard, conservatives, that, that presidents have to behave with fiscal responsibility and should not spend more than we take in from revenue.
Right.
That's a standard that we're not I'm not obliged to concede to that because that was never my claim in the first place. I'm just saying that if that's the standard, we do it better than you. Democrats are better than Republicans by Republicans' own standards. So it's fun. It's intoxicating rubbing in the objective inferiority of the Republican Party to Democrats. Democrats as a party, not individuals. I'm sure you can find exceptions, and certainly not voters. There's some really dumb, really mean Democratic voters out there. I'm talking about it as parties, right? As policies, thought leaders. The Democratic Party is objectively superior to the Republican Party in every possible way. I think if there are not studies on this, there should be. I'm sure it ranges from intellect to sexual prowess all the way through. Democrats are just better. And that's
classic.
Yeah. I love pointing that out.
I know. Sorry, you do. I'm
frothing at the mouth there. It's my favorite.
You got you went on your little diatribe.
Okay.
And I love it.
Thank you. I don't even know. As far as I'm concerned, we just end the stream now. Because I said everything I need to say.
That's everything that you want to get across every single time. Is that the Democrat Party is just better than the Republican Party in every single way. And then you just go on your little adverbs, and all of the adverbs, they get increasingly more ridiculous, and it's just so good.
What do you mean ridiculous? I will defend. I will die on the hill of everything
I just said. On sexual prowess.
Yes.
Okay.
Even that. Yeah.
You're gonna have to prove that, buddy.
Okay. All right, guys. we're switching.
Now we end the stream.
Yeah. But keep your camera on. No. Yeah. So stupid. What if we did that and we actually 2 weeks later saw an uptick in Republican voter registration? They were you know what? There was a mass exodus.
Honestly, I wasn't really with them until this stream ended, and then they posted the video.
You've made a persuasive case.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe this is pretty true.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So getting back to the debt ceiling. So you brought up that. Well, so what else do you think about it? So you established that Trump added more to the debt than any president. But now I'm going to play the devil's advocate just Socratically.
Sure. And say, I'm not super well versed in economics, but go ahead.
Well, I would say, Staxioms. Joe Biden is president now. So, okay, Trump sucks, but he's no longer president. We're 2 years into the Biden administration. What does that have to do with raising the debt ceiling now? We already raised the debt ceiling to accommodate Trump spending under Trump and in 2021 under Biden. Now it's 2023. Why should we do it now?
Why should we raise the debt ceiling?
Yeah, like in relation. So
I just want to make sure. Okay,
you established that, you began with Trump, how Trump added to the debt. Mm-hmm. I'm an enlightened conservative. I'm conceding that. You know what? Trump was an idiot, a fool, objectively inferior in all ways to every Democrat who has ever lived anywhere ever. Where was it? What was I saying? No.
I'm trying to figure out I'm trying to figure out what your point is. I'm listening to the enlightened centrist. So and your point is, why are we talking about Trump? Why are we talking about?
Why are you appealing to Trump from 2017 to 2020 in terms
because
of the
he contributed to this problem? I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same board. So I'm not talking about how to solve this problem, which we can get into. I really just want to acknowledge who created this problem, if that makes sense. If we could pin this on one person foremost, who could that be? Great. Now that we've established this, let's go ahead and fix this. Right. I just wanted to make sure that we understood who the actual person was so that we can make our informed decisions later on down the line about who we want in office. We should probably avoid figures who just say, hey, I'm just going to wipe the debt ceiling when we have a pretty proven track record that they do no such thing.
Yeah. So for me, I agree with you. It's good to get it out in the open that, again, the relative track record between the two parties in terms of managing situations like this. Now, I will say that conservatives, I haven't seen them say this, but I'm sure they are. They'll say to that, they'll say, Stax, I hear you. Mm-hmm. But so raising the debt ceiling is to accommodate previous spending, right? It's not to accommodate new spending, which is what conservatives say all the time. And they'll say, fair enough, Stax. I accept everything that you just said, except Trump's contribution to the debt has been taken care of because we've already raised the debt ceiling to accommodate his spending. His spending is taken care of. That was what the last debt ceiling increase was for. Now Biden has pushed us over and to the point that we need to raise the debt ceiling again.
Right. So your argument is that we should accommodate for Trump, but not for Biden for no.
Conservatives do make that argument. Yep. I've seen conservatives make that argument still. Like,
Right.
okay, well, when does it end, Staxioms? Okay, so two wrongs make a right. So just because we've done it in the past, that means we're obligated to do it now. And it's precisely what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
The implicit argument is,
that we should accommodate for my people, but not for yours.
Right. Even though the consequences would affect everybody.
But yeah, correct. Right.
Yes. So what would you say to that? Like if you were freestyling like a conversation with somebody.
If I were wait, hold on. If I were freestyling in that, I don't feel like you gave a response. I feel like you just agreed with what I said.
No, well they would say two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs don't make a right.
I feel like hold on one second. So God, debt ceilings are first off, you brought up this topic. I'm not super well versed in
okay, well then I'll take over.
I am floundering a little bit.
No, it's fine. So to me, I would appeal to the consequences therein because
sure.
The thing that frustrates me is, and this is the problem with I think the modern day Republican Party is it's all about short-term political gains, not even short-term societal gains. Like did you watch Game of Thrones?
No.
I'm trying to think of a good metaphor here.
Okay,
but anyway, so like,
okay, you can still love me, I promise.
I don't feel like there's really a good Star Wars analogy. But anyway, if I knew of one,
no, I would. Use the Game of Thrones one, and I'll see if I understand.
No, but anyway, basically, I would even understand if Republicans made short-term decisions which
benefit the populace.
Yes. But they don't even do that. It's short-term political gain for their party.
Or optics, yeah.
Right. And so the problem to me is when people appeal to so we've accommodated the debt ceiling before, ergo we're obligated to accommodate it again and again and again. It's actually like, yeah, because if we don't, the economy will crater.
Everyone.
Yeah. I mean, I can't remember. I don't know if Moody's Analytics or any of these like reputed like Goldman Sachs, if they've done any analysis for 2023. But I remember when I was Ruminate, aka Rum1N8.
True.
I remember
what is your new at? Is it Pondering Politics?
It is. It's Pondering Politics. I need to throw it up in the lower third.
Is there like a hyphen?
There was an underscore, but I got rid of it actually last night because I figured.
What are you on Twitter? I'm just curious.
The Pondering.
Oh, I see.
Or wait a minute. It might be.
It's the Pondering underscore.
Yeah, hang on. It is. Damn, you're putting me on the spot here. Like, who remembers their handles? Nobody remembers their handles. Follow Pondering on Twitter. I'm going to do it right now. Oh, snap. It's right here. Oh, shit. No, it's not. Where'd it go? Oh, there it is. Look at that. Boom.
Beautiful.
And the reason it's the Pondering is because and we talked about this too.
Well, you're doing Pondering Politics and Pondering Pop Culture.
But I haven't done anything with pop culture yet because basically I'm like pouring all of my blood, sweat, tears, and other bodily fluids into this channel. But I don't want to pigeonhole myself in terms of like social media. So otherwise I would have been Pondering Politics. Man, where were we going with that? We're talking about the debt ceiling.
We were. I was just asking. I would just want to know who you are.
I wish people wanted to know who I am, but I'm actually. See, the problem is having you here is you leech all the attention because you have 29,000 followers on TikTok. Which, by the way, guys, follow Staxioms on TikTok.
How many do you have on TikTok?
It doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. Shut up. It doesn't matter.
Just curious.
No, stop it.
You still ruminate on?
No, I'm not. You'll never find me. Go screw yourself.
I'll never find you. We follow each other.
No, fake news. I unfollowed you. I tried to get you. I am not going to contribute to your 30,000 follower threshold. So I unfollowed you. I should make a TikTok saying that all of my followers should unfollow your followers or unfollow you. So
do it. See if anything happens.
Probably not. Again, you'd probably increase. They'd probably be like, you know what? We'll get him to 40.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
And then you start following me and you're like, I like his takes.
Yeah. But yeah, so Moody's Analytics, I know they did like an analysis, a predictive analysis of what would happen in late 2021. Cause I don't know if you remember, but we've been here in December 2021 when the debt ceiling needed to be raised.
No, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And so Moody's did this thing, like it would cost instantly if we defaulted. We would see in a matter of days, 6 million jobs lost. unemployment would drop, or excuse me, raise back to like 9%. $15 trillion in household wealth, $15 trillion in domestic household wealth would be wiped out.
Would be wiped, yeah.
Because contrary to popular dipshit right-wing belief, like contrary to what your racist uncle says at Thanksgiving, it's not foreign creditors that hold the majority.
No, I don't know where that comes from. Well, I think I do. I think it's that Chinese bonds are in American dollars. They're like, oh, technically, like the way that I always heard it growing up is that China
owns our debt.
Like, is not just owns our debt, but is like sending us money, like through the mail, basically. That's just how I heard it. Like every single time, it's just like China's paying our debts right now, so we owe China, and then we have to pay that back to China eventually. And I go, oh shit, yeah. That sounds like a real problem. Oh my god. And then I learned that it's not that at all. It's that Chinese bonds are an American dollar. So technically that loan exists through our dollars, but that's good. That makes China relying on us.
This idea. I feel like here's the thing. Like this could fractal off into so many interesting substantive conversations, because even that particular tangent, right? Like I'm not an economist. As a matter of fact, and I know you said this, earlier as well, that, that it's not your forte either. One of my resolutions, and actually I'll send you the link. So a buddy of mine and I are actually going through, we're going to read I can't remember the name of it, but it's by Paul Krugman, who is a highly reputable, or Krugman, Krugman.
I always heard it Krugman.
Yeah. And he wrote this really reputable deep dive into macroeconomics. And one of the things I want to do this year is to widen my knowledge base, on things outside of just politics, but also philosophy and economics, because there's such an overlap. And by the way, can you move a little bit so your head is in the camera at all times? Because just angle the camera a bit. Like because half the time you're like,
well, I'm looking at this screen. Okay.
Just angle the camera so that if you are looking at that screen, your handsome visage is still there. We need the views, man. And if you're not on camera, it's just me.
You're right.
We're never going to get the views.
Right. Thank you for this.
Jesus. Anyway.
What did he write? Paul Krugman.
Well, no. So we're going to start, I don't want to say a book club, but we're both going to read through this. He was an economics major, this buddy of mine. And so he's kind of in a position to tutor more in-depthly. But he recommended this book, and he's like, dude, I'll go through this with you. And so I'm going to send you the link. And if it's something you want, I think we're going to try to do a chapter a week or every 2 weeks or something. Anyway, I digress. But it is interesting to me, even I, as a neophyte in economics, knew that when people were like, China owns our debt, it's a one-sided relationship, my God, they're going to come cash it. It's like, no, if we go under, they go under. That's actually the beauty of this deeply symbiotic.
That's globalism, baby.
Yeah, they can't afford for us to go under. They hear about the debt ceiling thing, and I guarantee you Xi Jinping is sweating right now. He's like, please, for the love of God, raise the debt ceiling. Yeah. He's texting Marjorie Taylor Greene with probably with using as few words as possible for her poor intellect, but please raise ceiling. You need raise ceiling. You know what I mean? And she's probably struggling to comprehend. It would be terrible.
Yeah.
It would be terrible.
No, 100%. And it's so weird. I don't know. I don't know if anyone else had that same. Did you grow up
I did
that same sort of idea that China not just owns our debt, but is paying for our debt?
I never heard that particular one. That to me is an even more specific offshoot. But the general thesis of where they have the dominant position in our relationship, even though it's actually
just so weird. It's so weird. I don't know. I mean, it's not weird to me. I understand exactly why it's doing what they're doing there. They're vilifying China. They're vilifying our government. They're basically wanting to make sure that it seems like that we are beholden to this foreign power, and they are going to take us over at any moment.
They're vilifying globalism, like you said. To me, that's the biggest one. They're wanting to go back to this. Was it President Woodrow Wilson, who wanted this isolationist, during the prelude to World War I, where we're just gonna fold in unto ourselves, and it could be autarky, I think is what it's called, where we do literally everything ourselves, where we have no real global trade relationships. all of the means of production, all the entire market system is done in-house.
It's done in-house.
Which is grossly inefficient. It's not really feasible.
No, I don't know why it also, I never really understood this worship for, because George Washington's farewell speech, right? It goes over like two main things. And the first one is no political parties, which like doesn't really make sense with the government that you set up, bud. Like that's kind of like the best way to take advantage of the electoral college, which is kind of that's kind of what you did. And the second thing is like no intervention at all. No conversations with countries. What?
Well, so I'm a huge George Washington stan as far as presidents go. I think he is by far the single most important and greatest president we've ever had. Even more so than President Lincoln. Yes.
Okay.
Because it's really predicated on the Cincinnatus principle that two times at least, President Washington set aside absolute power, which I don't think Lincoln would have done. Lincoln, as much as I respect him, he had to hoard power, executive power unto himself to successfully prosecute the Civil War.
No, absolutely.
I think virtually every president after Washington and like even the best intentioned Democrats, like if this is why I probably shouldn't be trusted to be president, because if I had been in Washington's position, I probably would have like, yeah, I don't really trust anybody.
Yeah, aren't you? Wait, hold on. Aren't you the biggest fan of Democrats not playing coy and kind of being a little bit authoritarian when they can sometimes?
Yes, but that's only as a matter of real politic, right? I love the idea that we don't have to do that, and somebody who tried to set up a system where that wasn't possible. That's where I admire Washington. But he did it twice. I don't think any president after him, if they had been in that situation, would have done the same thing.
What did that have to do with my criticisms? Because I could say that is good things.
Well, number one, Washington's reproach of political parties wasn't about like ideological differences, because of course he had Jefferson and Hamilton in his cabinet, and they were effectively the forebears, right? Yeah. His issue was, but he would say that's the template, that's the ideal template, is you get statesmen who have differing ideologies, but ultimately functionally the same macro goals of a strong United States, and you would empower them when and where possible. You would have the conversations, and you would ultimately side with whoever you thought made the better arguments, which is why ultimately Washington sided with Hamilton far more often than Jefferson. It pissed Jefferson off because that Washington thought he did his part. Look, I brought you to the table. I gave you power and influence. I gave you a position to persuade me, the ultimate chief executive, and just 8 out of 10 times you failed. Hamilton did a better job, but you're still statesmen who work together for the betterment of the country to implement my agenda. That's what he's talking about.
I get that in theory, but like the amount of times that gets implemented, and like Lincoln brings in who was his VP who like completely ruined Reconstruction after slavery. Like it feels like sometimes when you bring in people of the opposite party, it can kind of tank your administration, and it can tank the country. So I don't know how much of this, it feels a little impractical and idealistic to just say, I want to bring in people who oppose me politically, when who was right after Lincoln? Who was the president? Was it Johnson? Yeah, it was Johnson, right?
I don't think Johnson was Lincoln's VP. Hang on. It was Johnson. I don't know. Was it?
Andrew Johnson. Yeah, Andrew Johnson.
That's why I said it was Johnson.
Yeah. Okay. So it was Andrew Johnson.
No, it wasn't. Right? No. Wait a minute. Oh, he had two. Okay. The last one was Johnson. I apologize. Go ahead.
Yeah,
you were right. I was wrong.
No. But like Andrew Johnson was like, he was the Democrat, right? He was the other political party.
Right.
And I know your opinion that Democrats are always better than Republicans.
Well, modern Democrats. Nice try, buddy. Nice try. Yeah. Yeah. Once you found out that there was a Southern switch, that's when you switch your voter registration back to Republican, right? Once you're like, oh my God, yeah.
Holy
We're not the Andrew Johnson Democrats anymore. Oh, okay. Yeah. Nice
no, so Andrew Johnson, no, he came in as like he completely tanked Reconstruction, and he like, I just feel like this idea that just having having someone who disagrees with you really can pan out poorly for the country. So I don't admire that idealism as much as you might.
So no, just so a few things, but that was what, nearly 100 years, maybe 80 years or so after
Before.
Washington. That was
Yeah,
when
sure.
partisanship was well on it. Like basically where it was idealistic was that Washington was the only man at the time capable of, to some degree or another, keeping partisanship in check, which is
Okay.
why that's where I agree with you that I think at a certain point it was inevitable, right? That you're going to see people coalesce into different camps. Those camps are
Right.
going to become more and more extreme as time goes on. I love the sentiment that, hey, look, don't do that. And I don't think there's anything wrong with expressing that view, because you could say that any sort of ideal, like you could use that same argument, in my opinion, to, and I know you like bipartisanship. You really like it.
To
You
some
really
degree,
like
sure, yeah.
that Biden went out of his way to try to be as bipartisan as possible. I could say Stacks.
Mm-hmm.
I could say Stacks more often than not, it's not going to work. So he actually shouldn't waste his breath. And
No,
actually,
the difference is that Biden didn't set up that exact same structure that requires, or that doesn't require bipartisanship. No, this is disanalogous in so
it's
many
not.
different ways.
But go ahead.
One, George Washington literally set up. Well, it wasn't the there were plenty of people there. I don't know his particular opinion on the Electoral College, on first past the post, on basically every system that benefits political parties fracturing and isolating and then retaining power so that they can battle against each other. Like that was the system that you advocated for.
There's nothing inherent to the system of the United States that emphasizes partisanship. Nothing.
First past the post doesn't.
Even in the United Kingdom, you have two primary
and they don't
camps.
have first past the post.
I understand. And I'm saying,
I don't understand. Go ahead.
Because they are not first past the post, and they
Right.
still have hyper partisanship. You have a left movement and a right movement in the United Kingdom.
True. Right. They have
partisanship is inevitable in a democracy. Period. So it's not inherent to this one. You set up a system.
I do agree with that.
You set up a system where parties are going to thrive. That's every democracy on the planet. Period. Including in the UK, where they have they have the Westminster system.
Right, because they have like 12 parties, but we really know they have two parties. They have Labor and Tories.
Right, effectively. But what Washington was trying to say is, guys, don't do that. And you can say that it was inevitable, and I agree, but I don't think there was anything wrong with Washington begging and pleading everybody to avoid the impulse or try to reduce it as much as possible. Because, and again, this is the thing. I feel like too often people take that critique of Washington, but Washington himself wasn't like this enlightened centrist. Again, you basically had the forebears of two political parties. You had Hamilton and Jefferson. Right. And Washington wasn't split down the middle. 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, he went with Hamilton. He had a preference.
Well, yeah, sure.
But he empowered statesmen, educated, highly intelligent, well-intentioned statesmen to come to the table and debate the issue. And yes, ultimately he made his preferences and he had a clear bias, clear preferences. But to me, that's a radically different than what we have today. Now, you could say Washington was naive because he would probably have been he was the only person at the time who was capable of, to even some extent, rising above partisanship. He won. That's why they begged him to be president, because
he was the only one to sort of unify the country, for everyone to get behind.
Right. Yeah. So no, I don't begrudge you the idea that Washington's prescriptions were inevitably going to fail. I completely agree.
Sure.
I'm just saying that I think the logic was sound, and I think it was good civics for him to try to urge people.
I'll concede.
The only other thing I want to point out was your second critique of Washington, which was about foreign entanglement,
isolationism. Which
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know why we can't care about other countries. And I know that, like, I'll be a little bit more specific here, but I think that there's this mentality going on, and it's rife with libertarians, that basically the idea of a fully functioning community or world is one where we just take care of each other and we don't care about our neighbors, and we don't care about our community, and we don't care about anyone else in the world. And I can concede a little bit right? That isolationism is not always good, that sometimes just having a say in everyone else's pie can bring about some really negative externalities. It's not always good because we sometimes abuse that power, but that doesn't mean that communalism is bad inherently. Does that make sense?
No, listen, I completely agree with you in sentiment. And the thing is, though, I think you're overstating, number one, the nature of President Washington's objections to foreign
Okay.
entanglements. And I don't think that he would actually disagree with you in principle. His concern was at the time the dangers of long-term alliances for a fledgling nation. Because if you remember, right after the revolution, as the country was coalescing, then France and Britain were starting to have like renewed tension. And France, understandably so, and I think this, I cannot imagine the testicular fortitude it took of Washington and his administration to do this, because I think I would have folded like a lawn chair, because France came back to him and said, like, hey, look, we backed you guys. We helped free you from the British. Now back us. And Washington's like, you're cutting out. Can't hear, you know.
Don't you feel like that's a tiny bit shitty?
Yeah, that's why I said
no, not just shitty, but like bad politics as well. Not just bad optics. Like, I think that it was right to have backed France. No?
Well, so it's an interesting counterfactual. I think, number one, it was a very controversial decision. It pissed off not only France, but it pissed off many of the colonials at the time who felt that they were indebted to France.
Yeah, because there were French soldiers who were supporting them throughout the entirety of the Revolutionary War. Okay. Yeah.
Right. No. So 100. Okay. Number one, that's why I mean, like, just take the personal, like, to me, there's an inherent hypocrisy.
You respect that he does something that's so bad, but also it pissed off his populace. I feel like that's a
no, because you posed an interesting counterfactual. Was it bad politics? I think you make the argument no, it wasn't, because I think you'd easily make the argument that history vindicated Washington's decision by not getting us involved with the open conflict between the most powerful, empire in the world and a near peer. And that first empire already has a major grudge against us for what happened the last time. And we were trying to, solidify our domestic politics. So I think actually, no, you could easily make the argument based on how things actually unfurled. Washington was right. Now, perhaps a different decision would have been better. But we have number one, no evidence of that. And number two, it worked out just fine anyway. So I don't accept that. I do accept the possibility that backing France could have, I'm sure there are a chain of events which could have spawned, which would have been better for the United States. But again, that's a counterfactual we couldn't possibly know. I do agree it was personally shitty. I do agree it was hypocritical. And number three, I do think that there was a risk associated with it, because now you've already pissed off Britain with the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
And now you've potentially pissed off France too,
which is our closest ally at the time.
Right. But I think Washington's logic was sound. Like, look, man, we need a reprieve. We need a breather. We're really not in a position to do anything. We're a fledgling nation trying to get off the ground. We kind of got to focus. Like, our house was torched. We need to focus on rebuilding before fighting other fires. I think that was his logic.
Sure. What I'm going to say, I'm going to criticize one thing that you said, which is history vindicated George Washington's decision. One, that's not how vindication works. You can't look at it after the fact and say, look, we know that was the right decision because things worked out well. We don't know in the other universe where this occurred that things worked out well as well, but even better, right? Two, the French Revolution is known as being one of the sloppiest, like, sort of like all over the place revolutions of all time, and it's usually cited as being, I don't know, I guess sloppy is the best word, but like not exactly what they were trying to do. Like a lot of the actual outcomes that they were trying to fulfill didn't really end up happening, and they kind of just all pinned it on Marie Antoinette, when that wasn't really exactly fair, and they didn't burn down the monarchy as much as they wanted to. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, but what's the can you connect how that's significant?
All I'm saying is you can't just say that George Washington was right for saying this just because France is now a fine nation.
Well, no, I was actually no, that's, I'm sorry, there was a misunderstanding there. I wasn't appealing to France's trajectory as proof that Washington did the right thing.
You're saying America's
trajectory,
because they're now like kind of a hegemony in the world. Okay.
Well, not only that, but because against all odds, we were actually able to, relatively speaking, unite as a country, expand with, and all the, so I was not citing.
Sure. I thought you. Okay.
France.
Gotcha.
But again, I take your point. It's entirely possible that there's like a Doctor Strange, one of the 14 million potential permutations of how the timeline could have unfolded, where Washington agreeing to commit America to backing the French against the British would have been better for America and France. Yeah. That's entirely possible, but we don't know. And we do know
that's sure
that Washington's decision did work out fine, maybe not better, but fine for America and helped us along. But from what I remember about Washington's address, it was not ignore other countries or don't get involved with other countries. It was avoid permanent commitments to other countries.
Fine. Sure.
And I think I understand that. I don't know if that's possible now in a globalist world, but I understand the rationale at the time. Like, hey, France, we got your back no matter what. No, come on. Like,
it's gonna be a little bit more hazy than that.
Yeah, we should have absolutely conditional alliances. Like, if we have a permanent
conditional.
Yeah, no, 100%. I see what you did there, but we absolutely should. Like, we definitely should have alliances which are conditional. Like they say, Great Britain now, like we constantly talk about how Britain is our oldest and closest ally.
Yeah,
but there should be things
that they do that can turn us against them.
Yeah. No, yeah, and that don't necessarily directly affect us. Like, if Britain were to try to commit another genocide against India, I don't think we should be like, "Hey, boys, we got your back." It's like, yeah, no,
no, fair. That is fair. And I will say, I am biased here because a lot of the things that I've heard about George Washington are mostly out of other people's mouths, specifically libertarians who cite George Washington's isolationist principles as justification for their own beliefs. Sure. And I think that might have turned me against George Washington when it didn't need to, if that makes sense, because maybe they weren't looking at what they were saying as nuanced as it should have been.
No, that's perfectly fair. It's interesting to think about that too, because so the only libertarian that I like, I don't want to say frequently engage with, but the one that I'm having the freshest memory of is Fabian Liberty Scott from like the Hippy Dippy podcast and stuff like that. And he I think hates George Washington, as far as I know, because George Washington as a relative Hamiltonian was a proponent of relatively robust federal power, right? So that was the major disconnect between not only Hamilton and Jefferson, but Washington and Jefferson.
Right.
So what's interesting is I actually usually hear the opposite. If any conservative or libertarian that I'm familiar with likes Washington, it's usually because he was a slave owner, and I feel like that's the real basis. Like they're like, oh, Chad, yeah.
Or it's mostly because America has almost got this hard on for George Washington. So, because they love America, they'll just like, and because they always cite like early America as like the time when it was like pure and fresh and good. So they'll just go first president. That seems good to me. And then just
like almost like this lazy correlation between Washington the figure and America the idea, even 230 years after his administration. Kate, I mean, well argued, but the thing about it is he's fascinating to me. Actually, that was the most recent nonfiction book that I finished, and it was about 2 months ago, and it's called You Never Forget Your First. It's a biography of Washington written by I think her name is Amy Coe, C-O-E. She's a female historian. It's exceptionally well written, and it's a very unapologetic view of Washington's foibles and his strengths. Like, she covers quite a bit, I think, as much as anything, like the fact that Washington was a slave owner.
Yeah.
Because there's this idea that Washington was like this great emancipator before Lincoln. He really wasn't. Right. Now, over time.
Right. It was like during his retirement, right, that he like finally gave in.
Well, so actually it was interesting. It's kind of yes and no. So we have evidence to believe that Washington, for most of his life that we have records of, that he personally was disgusted by the practice of slavery, that he recognized that it was a moral failure and that he did not want the practice to expand. So in some ways, kudos to you, Mr. President. But that motherfucker still owned slaves.
Yeah.
till the day he died. And his thought process was, I need them because Mount Vernon is in tatters, and I helped finance the Revolutionary War. I'm taking an ass kicking. Basically, he compromised his principles for the sake of financial expedience, which is disgusting. 100%. You don't get I don't give you a ton of credit because you were intelligent and empathetic enough to recognize that.
In fact, it's probably worse.
Yeah, right.
That, like, you acknowledge that, like, hey, maybe this is a human being, and maybe it's not that great that I own this human being.
And as a matter,
but I got to get rich. So what are you going to do?
And as a matter of fact, not only, as far as I know, in his lifetime, he only freed. And I want to make sure I get this right. I know there was something unique about this particular act, but I think it's the only person that he freed during his lifetime directly was one of his aides during the Revolutionary War, who was a black man. I think he freed him. And he did say in his will that he wanted his slaves freed upon his death, but his wife, Martha, kept them enslaved after he died.
Oh, I see.
So again, Washington knew it was wrong, but he, out of laziness and cynicism and just human selfishness, kept his slaves. So he doesn't get like a ton of credit. You know what I mean? Like Ben Shapiro and others are like, Dennis, if you watch anything about Washington on Dennis Prager, like, as somebody who is kind of, like you said, presidentially, I am a Washington stan. When I watch a Dennis Prager video about George Washington, it makes me so mad and I'm so disgusted. I'm like, dude. Sure. It's like, oh, come on, man.
I never read any biography of George Washington, but my brother did, and he sort of talked about how ruthless of a general he was. That, like, he would hang people who deserted, and like really was aggressive towards pretty much anyone who didn't side with him during the war. And he was like, look, we got to get people in line, and yeah, he was blisteringly aggressive.
I didn't know that, because so this is a relatively short biography. I mean, it's fairly digestible, and it covers both his origins all the way up, I mean, past the generalship, presidency, until the day he died. So it covers all of it in a relatively small scale. I'm not surprised by the idea that he was a relatively ruthless general. The reason, I guess, that I still, just as a politics geek, am so fascinated by him and admire him from a leadership perspective is we had no idea, and they had no idea. Like, it's not like America was the first republic or even the first democracy that ever existed, but in terms of the modern era, we'd never really seen anything like it. Like, obviously we took a lot of traditions from Great Britain at the time, because they certainly democratized, in the sense that, you know, even by the time of the Revolution, King George III, the monarchy was relatively powerless. Certainly not as powerless as it is
today, for sure. But like the Magna Carta, and there were a lot of, you know, documents that really stripped the power from the monarchy.
Right. Sure. But even then, I mean, like, still, like, British government's also fascinating because they don't have a written constitution. It's all statutes and traditions and stuff. And even now, like, on paper, there's a reason it's called Her Majesty's government or His Majesty's government, because they have this weird conceptualization of power. The prime minister is a servant in the eyes of the law. They are merely exercising the monarch's authority on behalf of the monarch. So that's why when they go and meet with the monarch, they still bow, and it's yes, master, and your majesty, and all.
No, for sure.
It's so strange.
But then there's but then there's this, like, the monarch doesn't, like, because people still want to believe in the democracy, right? Don't want to believe that the queen doesn't actually exercise any of these rights. It's just like,
well, she doesn't.
It's kind of just dead. No, it's just kind of, oh, sure, true. But the king is it king now? King Charles?
King Charles. Yeah.
King Charles. Like, yeah.
What up, Chuck?
Yeah. No, I think it's just like, it's kind of just taboo for him to speak his opinion, right? Because they don't want him to influence the democracy and republic that they're supposedly built on, that people want to believe in. But, like, technically there's nothing stopping that guy other than just taboo and tradition from speaking his mind, and the prime minister following through with it.
Right. Not only speaking his mind, but again, so here's like another big one. Like, and this is like, to me, one of the starkest contrasts between the nation as it was conceptualized in, 1789 is when we, like, ratified the Constitution and Washington was elected. Versus not only Great Britain at the time, but Great Britain today. So when the members of the armed forces of the United States pledge allegiance or swear allegiance, they take their oath, it's to the Constitution. In the United Kingdom, they swear it to the monarch, not Parliament, not the Magna Carta.
Yeah.
It's like when
it's like
so like even just that stark difference, technically on paper,
yeah,
she is not only he is now, but
sure.
the monarch is the commander in chief and the absolute authority. They are above, they can't be prosecuted. The monarch has absolute sovereign immunity in Great Britain. Like so many of these traditions are they're interesting, they're fascinating.
You know what it feels like? Have you ever, this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but this is a metaphor, okay? Have you ever looked at the anatomy of a giraffe and like the way that this is funny, okay? So the blood.
Why are you in my search history?
Promise.
Why are you in my search history? Like,
no,
I'm getting hot under the collar because I feel like my camera was on before we started this. I do look at the anatomy of giraffes.
No, the blood vessels, like from their head to their throat, I think. It goes all the way down to their stomach and then all the way back up. Like it just requires an immense amount of pressure, and it's like right next to each other, and it's just transferring blood right next to each other, but it has to go through this massive loop. And then you look as to why that is, and the only reason is because anatomically or like evolutionarily, like evolutionarily, like millions of years ago, it made a lot of sense to loop through the heart, and it wasn't that much of a diversion. But as like the giraffe's neck stretched, it just like moved that diversion so far. So it's super inefficient based off of history. And if you were to create a giraffe right now, you would not have that anatomy right there. And if you tried to create a government, you would just say, no, what is the monarch doing there? Why are we going through all of these arbitrary restrictions just to make things more inefficient? And it's really just based off of the historical precedence of what it was.
Right. Like it's
thousands
almost like,
of years ago.
It's almost like, and again, I'm it's not like I'm a monarchist, but it's like, okay, if we're actually going to design an efficient government, you either have a monarch that does something
or you don't.
But like this weird half-assed in the middle thing is so strange. And yet, but the crazy thing, it's worked for them. Like, I think you could argue Great Britain has a more stable situation by far than we do here in the States. We haven't had
what do you mean by stable?
We haven't had Great Britain hasn't had a January 6th.
We had one January 6th once.
You're right. Actually, you know
in
what?
250 years.
Wait a minute.
And also,
wait. You know what? Wait a minute. No. Actually,
how many fucking coups?
Right. Wait a minute. No. It's cool. You're right. We have not hit our coup quota. You're right. What was I thinking? This is only one.
No. I'm just saying, like, you can't base the stability of an entire empire based off of one coup in 260 years. And also, how many revolutions has Britain had?
Not any since America's been around.
In like 200 years, in like
300 years.
Sure. I don't know if one. God damn it.
Yeah, right here, buddy. Right here. I'm sorry. Continue your apology for J6.
No, all I'm saying is I feel like that's a weird line to draw stability on when it has happened in two countries in the last 200 years, including Brazil as well. Like it feels like
two in like
200 years. Bro. No, but when else has that occurred?
Okay.
In any other country. I guess I'm just saying that feels like a weird metric. That feels like a very specific metric to put Britain over America.
I'm saying I'm not even okay. Listen, let me dial it back.
Okay.
I think on paper,
I fucking hate you so much.
No, it's cool. It only happened once. This is gonna stay up, by the way. Can't wait for everyone to like see this, and I hope you upload the VOD to your channel too, because your fans need to see how much of a J6.
True, exactly how I feel.
Yeah. So no, what I was saying is this. I agree with you that on paper, the framework of the American government is objectively, or as close to like maybe it still is subjective, but I would absolutely agree with you that the framework of the American government on paper is much better than the labyrinthine, convoluted, ridiculous model that Great Britain uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
But every system of government and every framework is predicated on people, on buy-in and reciprocal good faith amongst the actors and the populace. And Great Britain, I'm sorry, as far as I can tell, they just enjoy that to a far greater extent than we do. Their good faith among their government actors and their acceptance of tradition and the precedent, even among like the Tories and Labor and everybody, like it's just a more stable situation, not because of the framework, but because of the actors
But
involved are more
because
committed
they
to it.
okay. So you're saying if America had a similar structure that was just based off of kind of vibes, really? Kind of
We would
like
have folded. We would have folded.
no,
Yeah.
sure. I agree with that. But I also think that that's something that I kind of like about America is that we don't really give a shit about tradition. We're like, no, we're
We
making our
don't
own
give it.
thing.
No, the problem is I would agree with you in principle if that was where it ended, but half of America
Sure.
doesn't give a shit not only about traditions, but norms, civic traditions like the peaceful transfer of power, and actually written laws.
No, but
That's the problem.
I don't care that I don't care about peaceful transition of power because it's a tradition. I care about it because because the other thing is the other option is violence. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think that I don't, you're typing in doesn't care about peaceful transition of power. I'm so excited. I could see it coming a mile away. Oh, true. Excellent point, Pop. Having the fact that you've gone through 3 conservative prime ministers without elections unprecedented in the UK. That is also kind of screaming at the fact that they're unstable as well. Wouldn't you think?
I didn't say yes. So you're talking
You
about
said
Liz Truss
stable.
more stable, more
Yeah.
stable than the United States. Absolutely.
Do you think that 3 prime ministers, one with like that was in power for like a month, screams stability?
I think the fact that they were able to, hang on.
Sorry. Yeah,
Again,
go ahead.
compared to the United States, yes, because the fact that they had a prime minister, Liz Truss, who was there for a month and
Yeah.
were able to seamlessly transition to the next person, yes, 100%. I don't think that's optimal at all. I think the fact that they were able to, so relatively speaking, casually shoulder that while FYI, like that happened weeks after their most popular political figure died. The fact that
Uh-huh.
they had a back-to-back body blow there, because say what
Mhm.
you want about the queen, she was the most popular political figure on earth, number one, and two, she was seen as a beacon of stability for the
For
vast
the
and
Britain.
overwhelming majority
Yeah.
of the British public. She
Yeah.
dies two or 3 weeks later. Truss is booted out. Yeah, the fact that they were able to shoulder that, relatively speaking, is
I have a quick
incredible.
question. Why do I get the doesn't care that much about January 6th lower third, but you don't get the actually thinks that the Tories are the most stable form of government and is something to admire lower third? Thank you. I appreciate you. You better be doing it.
Here you go.
Thank
That's
you.
it. More
No,
stable.
no, come
That's
on.
what I said.
That
That's
is
what I
such
said.
but you
No,
straw man me. I get a straw
I
man
didn't
you
straw
back.
man you. You were over here doing backflips, cheerleading for J6. You
Fuck
actually
you.
told me like that was the worst movie ever because it ended with the bad guy winning. That's what you told me.
The worst wait, what are we talking? The worst movie
J6.
ever?
It was like the worst movie
J6?
ever because the bad guy won in the end because Trump didn't win. That's
Oh,
what
I
you
see.
told me
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
private at
100%.
length
100%.
from your manifestos.
Ad infinitum. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, but for real though. But yeah, no, I do. I think I think again, it's one of those things where somehow, even though they have by far a worse framework for government, and
Sure,
to me
they've
an inherently
somehow been a little
unstable
bit more
one,
stable. Okay.
yeah, it speaks to me to where we've gone wrong as a country because it's. Let me put it
It's
like this.
here. Let me give you what you should be saying. Okay. Here's what you should be saying. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah. Here's what you should be saying. It is stark that the United States has to look up to one of the most unstable governments that I can think of as a source of stability. That's how deep in the shit
they
we
look,
are.
but that's the thing is I don't think that's accurate though, because number one, I don't think we look up to Great Britain at all. I'm saying that
You just said that they're more stable than us.
but
we should be looking up to them.
No, I think I think what we should be doing is going, holy crap, we're super pathetic that these people who have no written
I guess that's what I'm saying.
constitution, yeah, who have no constitution are somehow able to operate with less radicalization and more stability than we are. We have a written constitution, a contiguous form of government of 230 years. We're much more democratic in many ways, and yet that's
not only did we have a coup 3 years ago, but we haven't really done a lot to ensure that a coup like that happens again, or like really taking care of the people who enacted that.
And we've inspired a coup in another country.
Yeah.
Or an attempted 100%. Coup, rather. Yeah. That's why I'm saying.
Well, yeah, and it was an attempted coup here as well.
Right. No, I mean they both were, but that's
and Brazil dealt with it so much better, so much more efficiently than America did, and it wasn't even that close.
Absolutely.
Like Lula really just cracked down on them, and they were like, "No, we're not allowing that."
So, dude, bruh, this is fascinating to me. I've become like obsessed with Brazil now because the contrast between Brazil and the United States in terms how we handled January 6th 2 years later versus how they handled January 8th 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Did you know?
Not even close.
So just to recap, number one, not only did Lula just come out and flat out say, we're going to find not only the people who were there, the boots on the ground, but the people who encouraged the boots on the ground, the people who funded the boots on the ground, and they're going to be punished. Not like, I need to. Okay. In fact, let me type up a lower third while I gather myself there for a minute.
Just put pops there. Lula's response was / is absolutely based. I think that does a good job of describing how we feel.
No, because this is something I feel insanely passionate about, and I feel like everybody should be talking about it.
Okay.
I believe in the principle of due process. I think it is fundamental. I think that even everybody involved with January 6th, including President Trump, deserves due process, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that does have to be made clear. However, due process is a means to an end. Due process is a means to an end because we've determined that it is the best way to achieve justice. Justice is the end.
True.
So what Lula did, which I find interesting, because Brazil has due process. It's a democratic republic.
Right.
What I like about Lula's rhetoric is he's not making a big deal about healing and due process. No. We'll do those. But the end result is justice.
Yeah.
There will be punishment. There will be accountability. That is the end. Due process is the means by which we will get there. But whereas Democrats and Joe Biden for the longest time were like, we're going to investigate this and due process. No. You spend 30 seconds on that and then spend the next hour talking about the consequences of what will happen once due process is affected.
For sure.
These people will be publicly humiliated. They will be legally punished. They will go down in history as losers who are mocked and reviled and a testament of things not to do. I like that aggressive pro-democratic rhetoric coming from Lula. We will follow due process to punish. There will be punishment. There will be accountability. A message will be sent. And he said it days or hours after January 8th. That's what I wanted to hear from Joe Biden from January 21st, 2021, all the way to today. And I hate that it took a year and a half for Biden's to start to adopt that sort of aggressive rhetoric.
For sure.
So,
for starters.
Because,
no, absolutely. I fully agree. I don't even know if I have a lot to add to that. What I will say is that it definitely feels like we forget what the outcomes that we're searching for are and what our means to an end. Thank you. Appreciate
well said,
that.
Pop.
True. Thank you, Pop.
But it's not just Lula. That's the thing. So it started with Lula.
Sure. It's like their whole democratic system. Is what you're saying,
dude. So their friggin' Supreme Court, the Brazilian Supreme Court, they're not okay.
They're not fucking around,
dude. Okay. I'm just. It's really encouraging. I feel like I feel like people should be like pushing this in President Biden's face all the time. Hey, look what they're doing. See what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because not only did Lula come out the gate and say, yeah, people are going to be punished, people are going to be held accountable, he actually just bluntly, baldly told members of like civilian law enforcement and domestic intelligence agencies, you all dropped the ball. We have reason to believe that that some of you were sympathetic to the rioters. We have evidence that you just stood aside and allowed them to gather. Why did domestic intelligence fail to foresee this?
Right.
There's going to be some accountability in your ranks too. So he's holding his own people accountable publicly. People are going to get fired. People are going to get prosecuted, and I love that. But then there's some other things.
Mm-hmm.
So Brazil, as far as I understand it, they have like their country is broken up into districts in much the same ways we're broken up into states. And so Brasilia, the capital, is in a federal district that has a governor, right? And I think his last name was Rocha. And I think it was Rocha. Am I right? Anyway, so there's a federal governor there. And under the governor is basically the head of law enforcement, the Minister of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
The governor fired the Minister of Justice that day. Fired him. He was actually in Florida. This justice minister was, which coincidentally.
Why are all the Brazilians? Yeah, no, Bolsonaro as well.
Right. So he was fired. Like, hey, dude, when you get back, clean out your office. You're done.
Yeah.
But because they had reason to believe that either he was negligent on the job or perhaps he even facilitated the riots in the first place. So he's fired instantly. Not, hey, we're going to take 6 months and maybe you're fired. Then the guy who fired him, the governor of the federal district, he was yanked out of his job by the Brazilian Supreme Court. He wasn't fired, but they said, we have reason to believe that you were negligent or allowed the riots to occur, because he was also a Bolsonaro appointee.
Right.
So he fires the justice minister, then he gets taken out of his job by the Supreme Court because he's under investigation. Then the Supreme Court said the guy you fired, the justice minister, not only is he fired, he's going to be arrested once he gets back from Brazil or from Florida. And he was like, they're not screwing around. And like, if you listen to the conversations and the public statements, they're like, we're not gonna do this the way the Americans have done it. We're not doing it.
Right.
We're gonna take a vigorous, crazy, aggressive, pro-democratic approach, and anyone involved with this is just gonna suffer. And I think
it's strange how much it's strange how much that this is gonna sound a little strange, but it's strange how much that response to Lula is kind of what the Trumpian supporters were kind of looking for, which was like cleaning out the swamp, right? That like getting rid of all of these officials who are sort of like in cahoots with anti-democratic structures or anything like that is strangely what all of the Trump supporters were advocating for. And yet as soon as it turns against them, then they're screaming what happened to due process, when that's exactly what you were saying should happen, just to different actors than the ones that you were sympathetic to.
That's a great observation. Actually, one that I didn't think. It's funny. So yeah. So in a way you could say Lula is
basically Brazil's Trump.
Well, what they Bolsonaro, but to your point, everything that anyone ever said about Trump, like in his defense, that he was like this anti-establishment, clean the swamp kind of guy, which obviously he never was. Not only did he not do
even
it,
a little bit.
You and I, anybody who was paying attention knew from 2015 on out that was never going to be Trump.
100%.
But he was. Let's see. Pop says, have a great stream, guys. Gotta go. I'll be excited to check out the VOD later. Hope to see you guys streaming again soon. We're probably going to do this again on Sunday, so I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think we decided Sundays this time is kind of consistently where we're going to be.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I think so. I think
so too. Great.
Here's the thing. In our relationship, there's no dominant one. I mean, not standing up anyway. So we'll make joint decisions. But yeah, I think this works for me. It's crazy. I never actually drew that connection that
that's what Lula's doing right now. He's draining the swamp, but he's like actually doing it this time, and not just through his rhetoric like all that Trump did, and then still appoint. I mean, we could just look at his entire eclectic cabinet and all of the hundreds of people who came in and then came out. I mean,
well, remind me. Well, remind me on are you talking about Lula or are you talking about
No,
Trump?
Trump's
Oh,
cabinet.
okay. Because I thought you said once on a TikTok live, and I'm being serious here, that you like, am I making this up? But that you like kind
Okay.
of study Brazil, like you're. I thought you said that you were like
Study Brazil. I don't know
that
what
you
you're
were
saying.
kind of like focused on it, and it may have been about a very niche issue. But I want to say I thought I heard in a TikTok live you say that you were kind of. I can't remember. We were arguing with a conservative on
That I'm a
TikTok
big
live months
fan of
ago.
Brazil,
Maybe
or that
that's what it was,
that I'm
or that
very interested in it.
yeah, maybe that's what it was.
I
I
will
thought
say
yeah.
my partner lived in Brazil for quite some time and like has worked in nonprofits that help Brazil.
Yeah.
But I don't
I
know if
thought you were
I
like a Brazil
personally
stan or a Lula stan or something like
I
that. Like
usually I usually just ask her sort of like, "Hey, what's going on there?"
yeah.
And
Well,
then
she's way smarter than you, so that makes
no,
sense.
I don't
Yeah.
I'm never disagreeing with that.
She's basically, I mean, I don't even know why I'm talking to you. Can you actually like just tap
No,
out and let her say yeah?
like she hates social media and she's like,
Mhm.
"Listen, you can't. This stuff is
I
toxic. It's not great." And she's like, she constantly has to like she goes through this like purging where she deletes all of her social media, then like re-uploads it
I
so that
remember
Google doesn't
I
track her.
I remember when we were in Georgia, I remember her saying specifically that that if any of this made its way to social media, like I think she had me by the throat, pinned me up against the wall, and she said that if any of this makes its way to social media, if I catch wind that I am visible in any
Yeah,
video, on any photograph, I'm
yeah,
gonna purge more than social media, is what I think she said verbatim. Then she hit me in the kidneys, and while
yeah.
I dropped to the
Sounds like her.
ground, yeah, kicked me in the ribs one time,
Mhm.
spat on me, and then walked away. So,
Yeah, no, I fully
not the
support her.
worst Saturday I've had. So, let's
No, yeah. So I wouldn't call myself a Brazil
Stan
scholar,
scholar.
I
Oh,
guess scholar.
I could have
Um,
been making that, but I could have
I
swore
don't
there
th-
was
maybe
something like maybe you were just saying that just to like talk shit to it. Like you were just like
no.
fluffing up like your
Here's what I
knowledge.
could have done. I could have said I'm very familiar with Brazil, and then just like in the background, just like slightly whispering to my partner, like, "Hey, what the
Yeah.
hell's going on out there? Like, please just give me some notes."
For starters, she's like, that's Venezuela, not Brazil. What are you
Yeah,
talking about? Like,
exactly. Yeah.
oh, dude. I don't know. That's funny. I might have to do a video on that. What else is new? I like that's a great thing about our conversations is that we have this like vague idea of what we're going to talk about, and then we never get there.
We never get there because we said we would. The ideas that we had, I think, were talking about Shapiro and Crowder's beef, and then we just
Yeah.
haven't mentioned that once so far. We
I'll
might
be
not.
honest with you, like you know more about it than I do, and here I'll create a lower
Sure.
third for that real quick.
Hmm.
I still don't really know what's going on, and I know we don't have the
Sure.
time to like dive into all the videos, so we
I'll
may
do
have
a
to do it a
quick
different. Yeah,
overview if you want, just so that you can get a basic idea of what happened. So, um, I'll go chronologically, but we didn't know a lot of this happened until later. But basically, Crowder wanted to deal with Daily Wire to sort of like operate under them, and they talked about contracts. And part of that contract, it was like a $50 million deal or something like that. It was really really big. um, and in that contract, it said that if you get stricken down, if you got age restricted, if you got demonetized, anything like that, we do take that seriously, and we are going to require like the parts of this contract are going to be known. Yeah, what's up?
and real
You have a
quick,
question?
I'm sorry if you get struck down, or did you say age restricted?
Yeah, where like it's like
I've
above
never
the
heard of
18
that.
year old. Yeah, like this won't be broadcasted to people under
Oh,
the age of 18.
okay.
What is that called?
I didn't
Age
know that.
restricted, I think, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm familiar with the term, but I didn't know how it applied to like YouTube demonetization or anything like that. Uh,
I think they're similar. I don't know. I didn't look at the
that's
contract.
fair. So if it's age restricted, that
Exactly.
means Matt Gaetz isn't going to be there. Am I right?
Nice,
Ah,
nice.
because he's been
Because
credibly
he's a
accused
pedophile.
of. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. So it was a
That's
rider
the
in the
joke.
contract.
The
Yeah.
joke is pedophilia. Just I want to be clear.
I don't think
Oh
it's not. It's actually not a joke, hasn't he? Like
no,
he's
he has been.
really.
No. I
Oh,
understood. I understood what you were talking about because
yeah.
I've definitely heard those accusations as well.
Yeah.
No, 1,000,000%.
A joke implies he's not, but he is.
But
we did.
we did laugh about it. It was a pun at his expense.
It was a good pun. It was a good
No,
pun. Well,
100%.
mostly
And
because we
we'll
like
use
to
it
make fun of Matt Gaetz because he's a loser.
Well, and the other thing as well.
But he's a loser in part because of that thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Although to be fair
to
your point, he was a loser before that was known about him too.
Yeah, so. And also loser feels like a little bit. I feel like we could use stronger language than like loser are people who disagree with me on TikTok. I feel like Matt Gaetz goes a little bit strong. Gets a little bit stronger rhetoric.
That's true. That's true. Why am I actually? I'm being too charitable to Matt Gaetz.
You are being so charitable.
What's a good like catch-all word that encompasses what he's been incredibly accused of, in addition to like the rest of like who he is as a person?
Now I got to be creative.
Loser is too anodyne. So like
little dipshit. No, that feels affectionate almost.
What about We'll have to come back to that because like everything I'm thinking is like can be. I was gonna say like degenerate, but I feel like that has like other implications that are.
I feel like degenerate's okay.
Yeah,
I agree that it's definitely used by a crowd who uses that.
His crowd, yeah, actually his crowd. Yeah.
Speaking of crowd, Crowder.
Yeah.
He's like that little.
It was a good segue.
Thank you. So basically, what happened was there was like a $50 million contract, and then Shapiro, or just the Daily Wire in general. It wasn't Shapiro directly, but he is the head of Daily Wire. Was just like, hey, if you get demonetized, there are going to be penalties regarding this contract. Like, you are not going to get your full share of this because you're not bringing in the revenue that we expect, right? Mm-hmm. So that seems correct, right? In a contract, is that like, oh, hey, if you're not supplying your bit because you're not being careful with your language. And basically he went on this tirade where he recorded the call and he said, the Daily Wire doesn't care about free speech. They don't care. Yeah.
Did they
like the contract negotiations
to that?
Yes, but he released it anyway. And yeah, without their knowledge. Yeah.
Wait, he recorded without the knowledge or released it?
He recorded without the knowledge and then released it on his show, basically vilifying the Daily Wire for not caring about free speech enough, because if he goes on a tirade and it's not his fault if he gets demonetized, because of course we all know YouTube just hates right-wingers and wants to strike them from the record. And
I wish they did. Yeah.
So if that occurs, yeah. So that was what Crowder was saying, is that these people were fake, that they didn't care about free speech. And I was like, I don't know if that's the case. I feel like Shapiro, that's fine to put in a contract. And
oh my God, that's kind of gonna have to defend Shapiro. I feel like we're gonna have to do, because based on what you described, like first, isn't recording someone without their consent and then releasing it, isn't that like really actionable? Like, isn't that like?
I think it could be. I'm not sure on that. I do know. I did.
Well, maybe he did it in a one-party consent thing, because aren't there like one-party consent?
There might be states different.
Yeah, I think there is.
Well, they both live in fairly conservative. I like that him moving from California to Florida might have fucked him here, because now he doesn't have actionable offenses because they moved their headquarters because they wanted to live in more conservative areas.
That would be great, dude. I don't know. Well, actually, no, I don't know. That actually might have helped him, because I feel like if you're going to a conservative area, consent is less of a problem.
Yikes. True, but yikes. I'm not disagreeing here.
You see what I did there?
I implied
that Republicans aren't really big into consent.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So that's basically where we're at. Basically, everyone in Daily Wire is now against Crowder and was like, "Hey, I thought we were cool. I thought we were friends. This feels weird." And then Crowder's like, "This isn't what you do to friends." And then they're like, "That's what I'm saying." And everyone has to take sides in this very stupid, petty little beef over $50 million, as if Crowder is the victim here. And I'll be honest, pretty much any Shapiro v. Crowder, I'm going to take Shapiro's side, because I do think he's at least fairly more intellectual and a tiny bit more honest than Crowder. Again, bars.
I mean, I'll certainly concede to the first part. Like, there's no question that Shapiro is smarter than Crowder and more thoughtful than Crowder. Of course, that's not saying much. I don't know which one's more honest, because it almost goes back to like you could imagine that Crowder is so stupid that he outsmarts himself and he falls into like confirmation bias, whereas Shapiro, when he is deceptive, he's intentionally
knowing
so. You know,
sure, that's fair criticism.
But the way the situation you describe it, if I feel like Shapiro is more in the right than Crowder, because so the nature
that's
of
my perspective. I want to be clear. Obviously, Crowder has his own, and anyone who takes Crowder's side is going to have their own. But
right.
I'm going to have my very biased retelling of what I've seen, which isn't the most. I watched Crowder's video and then I watched Shapiro's video, but like, kind of, there's been a lot of information because like Candace Owens and Matt Walsh and basically all the Daily Wire guys.
Isn't Peterson? Peterson is a
Peterson doesn't operate under Daily Wire. I don't think. I don't believe he didn't. I haven't seen a comment of his, and I don't believe he operates under Daily Wire. I think he's kind of independent, but just friends with all the people.
Steven, you gotta slay the. I can't do it.
That was pretty good. I liked it.
Crowder, you have to slay the dragon of tyrannical contracts. So. But
I have a question for you. Who's your favorite? Who do you think is the best conservative pundit? Like you have to.
Most effective?
How we said no. Like to you, actually feels like is not we can use these terms, but like we're gonna just like positive terms in general. Most honest, most intellectual, most contributive to society. And obviously, we're going to be obvious here. Bar is the floor. I'm very curious because I do have a ranking of these people in my head.
Okay, wait. So can you give me throw me some names? Don't influence me with your ranking. If you already have a ranking, keep it to yourself. But throw some names out to give me some options.
Alex Jones, right? We got Caitlin Gun Girl. What's her name? What's her last name? Caitlin Bennett. Candace Owens, Jordan Peterson, Matt Walsh. I'll put Joe Rogan in here. Maybe that's not unfair. Maybe that's unfair, but I don't know. Who's the other Daily Wire guy? He's like
Knowles, Michael Knowles.
Michael Knowles.
Yeah, Matt Walsh.
I think I already said Matt Walsh.
Okay.
Peterson, obviously. I think I don't know if I already said him.
You did.
Glenn Beck. Yeah.
Okay.
Who's the radio guy who died ages ago? Not ages ago, but like 3-4 years ago. Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
Rush Limbaugh.
May he rest in hell. I mean, peace or whatever.
Can you think of any conservative pundits that I?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like I feel like I'm in a horror movie now, where if I say, if I say like the infernal incantation, I'm hearing this howling abyss in my head.
We'll count anyone on Fox News.
Ooh. Okay. Well, then Brett Baer.
Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, fuck. All right, fair. Let's count specific people. Let's count
Herrero.
Tucker. Oh, Tucker gets on this list. I think Tucker is, well, I'm not going to
No, don't do it. You can't offer your opinion.
I can't give my opinion
yet.
I can't give my opinion. Do you have a worst option so far?
I thought you were asking which of them is the best.
I am asking. I'm curious.
I would say actually then Rogan, because Rogan's probably
I think so too.
Dumber than most of everybody on the list, but
I think he's the most
also
genuine.
more honest. And since yeah.
Like,
so
to me, I think people misrepresent Rogan a lot. He feels like this libertarian who just cares about free speech, and he's there to have anyone on who he feels like doesn't just like the media doesn't give enough credit to. Now, obviously, those people are overwhelmingly bigots, and I don't support his idea of free speech at all, but he is certainly not the worst. And very often he does push against, I think he pushes against his guests more often than any of these conservative pundits, which is why I was not sure if I wanted to include Rogan, because he feels like the easy choice, and I kind of want you to struggle with the real.
I mean, otherwise I would have to go Peterson.
I agree.
Pre.
Okay.
2020. So Jordan Peterson between 2016 and 2020, or Shapiro. Absent Rogan, it would have to be one of them.
Sure.
Peterson, since he emerged from his medical-induced coma, has been absolutely deranged.
No, I agree, but also it's better to be deranged than like aggressively cynical and like actually harmful to our democracy.
I think Peterson is actively harmful because I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where they all. Here's the thing: they're also damn pop. Oh, we didn't even think about Charlie Kirk or anybody like that.
Oh, true. Yeah, TV USA.
Yeah, but he's not. He would be towards the bottom.
Charlie Kirk feels middle of the ground to me.
Yeah, I'm really disgusted by him. Tim Pool would be another one.
Oh yeah, but I think Tim Pool kind of hits. I think he might be one of the best. I'm not. Listen, of course.
No, that's not me judging you. It's just me
you're like
I'm contemplating. It's like biting into a lime. I'm like
maybe
or a lemon.
I think the worst to me. Oh, I'll give. You want to give your opinion?
No, go ahead. There's no way I could rank. I'd have to think about this. Yeah,
Alex Jones. I think that he is like actively like. One, he gives into conspiracies way too often, and it's made people distrustful of institutions, but also he's deeply, deeply harmful to like. I mean, the aggression that he had towards Sandy Hook victims was unprecedented, where people started taking a lot of the rhetoric that they heard online and start applying it into real world situations in way more palpable ways than they were doing before. And I think that is one of the most harmful people, I think. So
yeah, so it's interesting how we think about. Okay, so one of the things, again, I mentioned this earlier, that I'm trying to do in 2023 is to. I'm such a politics geek that I'm trying to get more, trying to develop my knowledge and understanding of things which are related to politics, but are not necessarily so, like philosophy and
he made the frogs gay.
And beg your pardon.
Well, Wilbur and he made the frogs gay. True.
The frogs, the lizard people, or whatever. Hey, I did something that wasn't Peterson. Hey,
I will say the benefit to Alex Jones. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, you dick. Anyway, so what I'm saying is I'm trying to become more knowledgeable about areas outside of politics, which are tangentially related, like philosophy and macroeconomics, because I think it will help my political commentary, and also they are things I'm interested in, and I feel like they have inherent value to understand.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up is because this might be a philosophical question about how we measure harm, because probably from a utilitarian perspective, the correct answer is whoever has the biggest audience out of any of them. And I don't know who that is, because Jones has a huge audience. Fuentes, Shapiro, Crowder. Like, it's hard to tell. Jordan
Fuentes
Peterson
hit those.
Okay, let's skip Fuentes, but like Peterson, Shapiro, whoever. Like, I feel like it's hard at this point to determine. I'm sure we can find out who, but those are names I hear thrown around a lot. So if we're referring to literal just outcome and influence, then yeah, I could see a case made for Jones. But here's where I find somebody like Jordan Peterson more repugnant than Alex Jones, is because I think, and I didn't watch him a lot. I saw some of his stuff with Kanye and Fuentes, but like I'm not too conversant in Alex Jones. But here's my point. I think he is a profoundly stupid man.
Yeah.
So this is part of the reason why I don't hate Dave Rubin as much, or dislike Dave Rubin as much as others, because I think Rubin is a genuinely stupid guy.
Oh, okay.
And
you're on the same page. I think Jones is very secretly smart.
It could be. You would know because you love him better than I do. But for real. So this is part of the reason. Like, okay, I mentioned that Peterson's deranged.
Sure.
Peterson disgusts me more because I don't think Jordan Peterson's stupid. I think you could say many things about Jordan Peterson credibly since he, entered into the public zeitgeist all the way to now that are consistent. But I don't think you can call him stupid. I think he is a very intelligent. I actually think he's a really good speaker, even though there's like that Jordan Peterson speech generator, which is really funny.
Yeah.
But like I've never found him to be an ineffective speaker or to be a stupid man. I think he's really, really smart. I think he's a very good speaker. And so him spiraling the way that he has and just abandoning so many of his principles is so much more disgusting and harmful, in my opinion, than somebody like Jones, because I also think that people who, I think there's a more cultish demeanor with Peterson fans than there is with Alex Jones.
People look up to him like
in ways that I don't think they do with in ways that I don't think they do with Jones.
Not even close. Jones is like an entertainment guy. right? Like that's what his big appeal is like, hey, I'm just here goofing off. I'm gonna be talking my ideas and I'm gonna be a fun figure. Peterson is like, no, let's actually reach out to these people. I want you to understand that
let's cultivate this. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing is too, like, here's a name that should have been probably thrown on this list is Elon Musk. Like Elon Musk disgusts me in a way that Dave Rubin doesn't and others, because I don't think Elon Musk is a stupid man.
Mhm.
And yet he's such an insecure attention whore that
Sure.
he has sacrificed his principles on the altar of lulz, and his political prescriptions are so bad. I
Yeah.
used to have, I have one of my close friends, one of my best friends is
Uh-huh.
basically in love with Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And I used to have some online acquaintances who were like obsessed with him as well. And both of them would effectively, both of these camps would make the same argument. Look at his financial and economic success. Look at his business acumen. Look at,
Sure.
his gestures towards effective altruism and things like that. And to me, I haven't talked with my friend about this in weeks, but I get the vibe when his name comes up that my friend is like low key, just like, cringing, because I think Musk is revealing how shallow he is. And not that I'm the world's deepest thinker by any stretch, but I've never presented myself that way, nor have I ever been propped up that way. When his political positions are, hey, we have a Democratic president, so in the midterms, vote Republican.
Vote Republican because it's the other side. Yeah. And to me, that feels like that. There's this term that I use a lot. It's called, like, I call it smoke screening, where you kind of obscure what you're really going for and use like ulterior justifications. It kind of feels like a little bit like ad hoc reasoning, where you come to your conclusions and then you kind of bullshit your way to get there. Like, there's no way that that's really how you feel. There's no way that if Trump were president, that he would go, oh, actually, we should do a Democrat. Like he would take these hardline left-leaning stances just because Trump wasn't president. That wouldn't be the case. Two, it wasn't the case because Trump was president 3 years ago and Musk didn't say fucking anything.
And number three, I'll even throw you a bone here if we're just being like full on logic, bro. Number three, as somebody who would want to see left opposition to that hypothetical of Trump, that would be a really stupid reason to vote Democrat.
Agreed.
Like if you're gonna vote Democrat, I'll take the vote. But if your logic is the only reason I'm voting Democrat is because we got a Republican president, like, bro, okay, in the short term, yeah, that benefits us on the Democratic side, but long term, we have to have a serious conversation.
That's the dumbest justification.
Yeah,
of like how you approach politics is fundamentally flawed.
Right. 100%. Because here's the other test. You're right. Not only did he not say it when Trump was president, of course. But okay.
But also, how many? Sorry, he wasn't encouraging states who had right-wing governors to vote for their fucking left-leaning Senate. Yes, or they're like yes.
100%.
Yeah.
Like the only elections that were going on were like federal, senatorial, or congressional elections. Jesus, there were gubernatorial elections. There were state election officials. It's ridiculous. I would at least take him at face value if he'd followed it up with an, oh, by the way, since on the state level, we have like 35 red states, you need to be voting blue in every state election to balance that out. Then I would be like,
at least I know you're consistent but stupid.
Right.
Like, at least I know your stupid opinions of politics are genuine, right? Then at least I can tackle them. But no, it's fucking not. It's just a smoke screening because you want to pretend
fell in love with
that
you
you're
all
this
over
enlightened.
again. I did.
So
like
much.
That was, you have no idea. That was the magic phrase to me.
What was the magic phrase? Just like
you pointing out the fact that he didn't mention the state shit. Like, that's how you know he's like, you're dumb and you're a liar. You could at least have just been dumb.
Yeah, or a liar. Either or. I'll take either.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't take either. Shapiro is a smart liar, and I don't really.
It's just strange to me that, I guess to kind of wrap up the Crowder thing, which I'm sure, I mean, I know that's ongoing. And by the way, I hope it continues. Like everybody.
Oh, 100. You ever see that meme where it's like, let them fight?
Yeah. From I think the first Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was the second one.
It's a Godzilla movie where Godzilla is fighting another
thing.
I'm not a fan of Godzilla.
Yeah, it's not really my cup of tea either. I did enjoy.
Not disparaging it, just never got into it. To be clear,
no, it's okay. It's subjective. But the getting back to it, if what you say is accurate as far as like
Mothra,
the nature,
that's a thing.
Huh?
That's a villain in Godzilla.
What'd you say? But what did you?
Mothra.
Oh,
just so you know.
Yeah, Mothra.
I just wanted to just for the Godzilla fans out there, in case they felt like they were being,
we have
isolated.
We have a legion of 5 people. Yeah. We have a legion of 5 people watching.
One of them is a Godzilla fan.
I'm pretty sure 2 of them are my grandmother. One is her tablet, and the other one is her laptop. But anyway, the thing about the Crowder Shapiro contract, if what you say is true, and he was soying out over the condition like, hey, if you're no longer bringing in revenue, we can't pay you to the same extent. In what universe is that like
exploitation?
Right. Yeah. Like in what? Listen, hey, just FYI, if you get yourself banned, if you get yourself in a position where you're no longer bringing us in money, we can't pay you to the same extent.
I got really frustrated because I got hired for a job recently. It was really exciting, but then I looked at the contract and they said, if you're not doing your job anymore, we do have grounds to fire you. And I went, what the fuck is this?
Dude, for real?
It was unbelievable.
No, hey, like, let's not joke about that. Like, they said that to you?
They did. They said, if you do not bring us monetary value, I don't see the point of us paying you anymore.
Wait a minute. Your new employer told you,
yeah,
if you're not working, if you're not bringing in money, they're not going to give you money.
Correct. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Are you okay?
And what the biggest point? Who is it? Sam Cedar mentioned this, which I'll kind of extend onto this as well. Isn't that the fucking entire point of the conservative ideology? Is that contracts cannot be exploitative because you sign on to them, and that is the American that you are supposed to bring value into the company that you bring, and then they'll pay you back monetarily. That is the entire structure of the conservative ideology that falls apart the moment Crowder opens his mouth.
Listen, you know what's funny is I think it's adorable that you think that that's a gotcha. That you think
of course it's not a gotcha.
No. I love that you think that that's a gotcha. Like, I found an inconsistency here, but the problem is you're not paying attention. Libertarians and conservatives absolutely recognize the reality of exploitative capitalism for the rich. Okay, it is absolutely exploitation when a $150 million per 4-year contract has a stipulation or a rider in it that if you don't bring me in money, I can't give you money to the same extent. Like, it has to be a reciprocity thing. That is absolutely exploitation. Now,
which is, by the way,
wait a minute. For poor people, exploitation doesn't exist, baby.
No, they're fucking welfare queens who sit on their ass and don't do any work, and we're paying them to do nothing to contribute into a system that they only take from.
I would be offended, and I'm sure you would be too, if a poor person, entered into an employee contract, and the and they complained that if the employer was like, "Look, if you don't do your job, we're either going to fire you or we're going to dock your salary," and that employee complained, how dare they? You know what I mean? Or it's just
for sure.
Yeah, but it's perfectly okay.
No, it's of course it's perfectly okay as long as the contract exceeds $1 million, which in this case it was $50 million. He showed the whole contract. We all saw the dollar amount. We all confirmed, oh, this is how much money is in this business. This is how much money. I see why people completely just lose their ideals and basically everything that they care about over this enormous dollar sign on a contract. Like, I get it now.
Yeah, no, principles have like tax brackets. You know what I mean? Like they're bracketed. You should stick to your principles if you're poor, regardless of the context and consequences. But if you're rich and the goal is for you to get richer, well, you shouldn't let things like principles get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's so dumb. It is. It's really dumb.
Yeah. No, 100%.
So are they really Like
they're pretty beat. They I know that the Daily Wire actually, at least here's their perception, and here's what they like to perceive. Here's what they like to be perceived as, is like kind of like a family, and kind of like, hey, we're people who get along and we're friends and family. And that might be true, because a lot of their criticism, they might actually be good buddies with each other, because a lot of the criticism is like, whoa, this feels like a personal attack. Why would you record our call? We could have handled this professionally.
Charles Manson wanted his people to feel like a family
I'm not
too.
I'm not disagreeing with you here, but I'm just saying I think that they might actually genuinely be friends, because it feels like an actual genuine rift between two friends, that like one kind of betrayed the other, and it feels deeply personal, but also it encompasses these massive multimedia structures, so the rift isn't just personal, it's business as well.
Yeah. Well, I hope it continues. I hope it is sincere.
No, for sure.
I hope they're ravaging each other.
I think I'll take Daily Wire over Crowder's network. This Crowder had like just louder with Crowder, I guess. I don't think he's under a network, but
I think he was with the Blaze, and I think that I do know, and maybe I don't know, but I thought I heard that towards the end of last year he was going to be out of his contract with the Blaze.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
That's interesting. No, I need to like follow this more. It's on my backlog of things to do, because like I said, I'm for my channel, I'm trying to do.
I don't know how worth it is. I'll be honest.
Well,
it's a lot of like
it might be good
fighting.
It might be good fodder for content. Like, okay, so that's the other thing. Like, I don't. One of the principles that I'm going to stick to, or I hope I do for the longest time, is I have no interest in real drama content. But if it's political drama, like something like this, I think that's worth, talking about.
Sure. Especially because it extends. It has so much. It's not just beefing. This is beefing with millions and millions and millions of viewers.
Yeah.
Like the amount of people that this feud covers will affect. Yeah, it's enormous. It's not just two weird content streamers who like stream to like 2,000 people. These are
Dude, I would love to be. Can you imagine?
True.
Oh my god.
No, but like when we talk about like
right there.
No, yeah, because when we talk about beefing, it's always amongst like these Twitch debate pros, right? But this is massive, millions and millions of viewers who stream constantly to Facebook and follow. I don't know.
Yeah. Like I said, it definitely has. And I think actually with the Sam Cedar example, you cited an example of how this goes beyond not only personal beefing, not only beefing in terms of scale of audience, but actually there's even a deeper,
like
or higher beef. Yeah, like there's an there's a revelation there that these people accept an inherent flaw to their own ideology. Like,
yeah.
Crowder has outed himself again. If what you say is true, and I assume it's the case because Sam Cedar commented on it, that Crowder gave the game away. Like he inadvertently telegraphed. Now, perhaps his audience doesn't care, or that they won't notice.
I don't think they would notice, but yeah, continue.
But yeah, that his entire worldview that he has spun to them is based on this idea that capitalism is inherently voluntary, and as long as you don't sign a contract, it can't be exploitative. And if you do sign the contract, it's no longer exploitative because you agreed to
it. Yeah.
So there is just no such thing as capitalistic exploitation. And yet, sounds like he's making the case that no, there is, at least when it comes to him. You can attempt to exploit me by offering $50 million.
Yeah, true.
Exploit me then.
Yeah. Like if that's your idea of exploitation, is getting $50 million.
God, what a joke.
Like we could point to so much like real exploitation where like people are getting paid like $4 an hour, or else they'll get kicked out of the country. Like migrant workers face like just so like the idea that is not exploitation, but what you're going through is what Crowder's going through. That is exploitation. That is a ridiculous ideology that the only proper response to do is to laugh at it, is to point and mock it. That is it's a silly, childish idea of how our country works, and it should be pointed out constantly.
Yeah. Well, I think on that note, I think we'll probably wrap up here. But
Yeah.
before we go, I would
Yeah.
like everyone to follow Staxioms on
Thank you.
TikTok. Get
And
him.
I don't have control over the lower third, but you should also follow the Pondering on the Pondering _ on Twitter. I don't know if I have your YouTube handle right here with me now.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. It's not like you've ever been to my YouTube channel. Hey, maybe you should consider
Huh?
subscribing. Maybe you
I
should
comment
consider
on your things.
Maybe liar.
Huh?
Lies. Maybe
I've commented a few times. I don't watch every video of mine, but I don't watch every video of yours. But you don't watch every video of mine. What was my last TikTok video about?
I'm not on TikTok anymore, baby.
It got like 300,000 views, and you have no idea what it's about.
Because I'm not on TikTok anymore. Go to YouTube. I would absolutely. I go out of my way to, like, your Magic the Gathering video, which, by the way, you all should check out. It's using Magic the Gathering as kind of a framework for understanding, which is like understanding housing. Yeah. It's really great. Yeah. It's very innovative. You should definitely check it out. See, I go out of my way to pimp your stuff out and to hype it up.
I do appreciate
it's cool. It's cool. It would be really good. Here's the thing, guys.
It would be helpful if we were on the same platform, which we kind of
get
aren't
on
anymore.
The same platform, baby.
I made a YouTube video and it got like 30 views, and I'm like,
that's what happens.
That's what happens. 300,000 views on TikTok, and I'm like, maybe I should be doing both.
Do you understand how long it took me to climb the mountaintop of YouTube to get to nearly almost 780 subscribers on YouTube? Wait a minute. I have a couple of videos, I don't want to brag, that have like 70 views.
Ooh.
I actually have joking aside, I do have a few that are like 1 to 2,000, which is nice. Yeah. But you got to trip the algorithm. That's my whole mission this year.
I hear you.
It's time, baby. It's time.
I hear you. I guess I'm saying
you don't hear me because you don't do it.
No, let me say this. You don't get to criticize me not watching your shit when you don't watch mine. We're just not on the same platforms. We're not prioritizing the same platforms.
No. Okay. Actually, no. Stop.
Go ahead.
I don't scroll through TikTok anymore. Scroll through. No, wait a minute.
Okay.
Wait a minute.
Okay.
You are much more wrong than I am. Okay. However wrong you want me. I'm the Democrat here. However wrong I am objectively less wrong than you because I'm not on TikTok. It's not that I'm not making videos on TikTok. I don't use the app anymore. You're on YouTube. You scroll through YouTube.
Not really.
Bruh.
What?
I've seen all those David Beckham searches that you have, like all those compilations, whatnot, like of you just like staring at thirst trap compilations on YouTube. Okay. I know you're on YouTube.
You did get me there.
Yeah. Why aren't you on this thirst trap on YouTube? Whatever. All right. So Sundays at noon Eastern, 10 a.m. Mountain Time.
If that's where I live. We have no idea.
I'll send you his exact address. I will send you his exact address and PO box.
I'm moving soon, so do it, and then I'll just dip out of here. Or I'm changing my whole setup, just so you know, in like 2 weeks.
Because you're moving, or you're moving the setup?
No, I'm moving, and then it's gonna be.
Do you have an idea, dude? I like geek out over setups. Like, there's a playlist. I think it's still public on my channel where I've gathered. Like, I obsess over.
I'm excited because I'm gonna have like a separate little office just for this, and this is like because right now I'm just streaming in my bedroom. Like my bed is right there. But now it's gonna. I
saw the box of tissues behind you and the lotion.
True. Yeah. But now it's gonna be like maybe I can actually deal with like affect the lights or like maybe I don't know. We'll see what it looks like.
I'll send you a picture of my setup. But yeah, like I made Destiny do the same thing. I'm like, dude, I am obsessing over this. I'm like, I want you to set and what's funny is his is a lot less organized than I expected. Like I have to have mine immaculate. Like everything has to be like proper angles and oriented the right way. And the light, it drives me nuts. If I see a flaw in mine, and I do all the time, I constantly have to nitpick. And I
am actually very curious with your lighting structure because I feel like mine sucks. Because especially when I go like this. Oh wait, hold on. I pull up like that. It's a bright screen. Like it's so bright. And I like find dimmers for my computer screen, but I don't think that's because then it's hard to see. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I'll
Do you have
send
the
you a picture of
extinguisher?
it, but I've
Yeah.
got like a I wonder if it can. Hang on one second. No. Hang on one second. I'm gonna make you small here for a minute. So like I've got a key light right here, which is like it's face level,
Mhm.
and then I've got a fill light. Then I've got another fill light, which used to be on the opposite side face level, so it was hitting me both sides. But then I moved it down so that it's coming up under.
Mm.
And then I moved my key light, instead of it being right in front of me, I moved it like 45 degrees. I'm just trying to, because here's the thing.
Mhm.
I see people, and again, it pisses me off. I must be just physically or cognitively incapable of doing this. But I see people take like one light and like a light bulb with a cloth thrown over it, and then all of a sudden they have like cinematic lighting. It's insane. It pisses me
Yeah.
off because I'm trying to replicate it, throwing a lot of money at trying to do it. And I don't want super bright oversaturated light. I want something moodier like this where it's a bit dark but still
Sure.
visible.
Sure.
And I like that. I like that aesthetic, and I'm trying to like pull it off. But here's the thing: if I throw my glasses on, which I have
Yeah.
contact lenses, but like it kind of like you see the shadow here, and like I'm trying to get this light down here to cast enough brightness to get rid of this line, but it's not. And then of
Sure.
course you see the glare.
Yeah, I can see the glare.
Oh, so that's why I have it angled down. So as long as I just like move like this and that, there's really not much of a glare that shows in my glasses until I look up at the key light. But yeah, I'll send you my shit on it. Maybe
No, yeah.
you two will be able to figure it out where I failed, because it
No, that'd
drives me
be
nuts.
great. Because yeah,
And then,
I don't love my setup, but
well, I mean, again, you're in the process of moving one. You've got it's
no, for sure. You cut out. I can't hear
sorry,
you.
also your OnlyFans studio as well, right?
Yeah, well, it's gonna double as both of them.
Are
So
you gonna have a pole coming down the middle in
no, it'll
the
be
office?
it'll be in the corner. It'll be great. No, it'll be like this political section, and then this is like my OnlyFans.
Are you gonna have a
section.
separate camera for it, or are you just gonna like spin the camera to
No,
the
just
pole
spin the
section?
camera. Why need to? Yeah, why? I don't understand why I would get multiple cameras for that.
Well, I feel like eventually, if we get to the point where this is, profitable and popular, like you should
Mhm.
invest in a second camera. So it's like an entirely different setup.
Sure,
You know what I mean? Like
sure.
you've got your political setup where you give your political commentary,
Mhm.
and where you don't watch any of my videos or help me out in any way.
Not
And then
even a
you've
little
got that
bit.
separate section where you're working the OnlyFans angle. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
with the fisheye lens camera.
Yes.
Yeah,
I like how you thought this through.
yeah. No, I have.
Well,
All
this time
right.
next week.
Yeah, this time next week.
Hey, wait a
All
minute.
right.
Wait a minute.
Much
Wait a
love.
minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
I keep
Yeah,
fucking
yeah,
it
no, no,
up.
yeah. Come on,
God
come
damn
on,
it.
come on, come
God
on.
damn it.
Wait. Oh, that's great.
That's
Right.
all right, I guess. Maybe this is fucking difficult.
It
Anyway,
is. We're gonna get better at this.
we're gonna do great. We're gonna do great. I believe in us.
Yeah.
All right.